Jose Ramos Jr. Welcome back to another edition of J Area Live. And on this Thursday live stream, you guys voted for it. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the Hitman Hart. One of the greatest matches to ever take place at WrestleMania. It was the submission match. WrestleMania 13, 1997. I believe that was in the Rosemont Horizon out in Chicago, Illinois. A great showcase for Bret the Hitman Hart. And the main event, the main match that elevated Stone Cold Steve Austin up into the upper echelon of professional wrestling. As we start to discuss what's going on here on the live stream, we're going to give people an opportunity to join us here on a Thursday stream. Want to give a quick shout out here to Luis and Dwayne as well in the chat. Appreciate you guys for joining us here on a Thursday night live stream. Always looking forward to these streams and being able to connect with you guys on a real-time basis. We've seen a lot of participation and a lot of involvement with these vertical live streams, so we're going to keep the train going, keep the momentum rolling with this. I also see Mama Ramos. What's going on? Appreciate you stopping in the live stream. Good to see you. And yeah, I mean, Thursday, it's a Throwback Thursday stream. That's what we look forward to. We look forward to these throwbacks, acknowledge the history of this great sport that you and I are all fans of. But like I said, we had a few options here with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously having a March 16th, right? 316 day just passed by. Also, shout out to the Thea whose birthday it was. Happy birthday there. But yeah, no, it's a great matchup. It's a matchup that I always love looking back towards because it is a solidifying moment for both Bret and for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the all-time greats to ever do it. I mean, this guy knew how to perform in the professional wrestling ring regardless of the opponent. The size, the speed, didn't matter who he was facing, he would always perform. They would say that Bret Hart could have a great match with a broomstick. That's how good he was. And to see the matchup that he had with Stone Cold Steve Austin, we knew he was an all-time great. But I mean, come on. One of the greatest wrestling matches to ever take place. Recently rewatched the matchup as well. Shout out to Sylvia in the chat there. What's going on? Thank you so much. Recently rewatched the matchup and it still holds up. You know, for a submission match, it kind of limits what's going on in a contest. Because when you're doing a wrestling match, you're looking for the drama. You're looking for the suspense. And it's like, okay, are they going to win via pinfall, submission, DQ? With this match, there's only one way to win: the submission match. And what these two were able to do was nothing short of spectacular. On this channel, you guys know I'm a big fan of Shawn Michaels, and I think one of, if not the greatest wrestling matches of all time is WrestleMania 25, Shawn and The Undertaker. But before that, the argument, and I guess nowadays it still could be, the argument could be made: Austin versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Shout out to Dwayne here in the chat. What would you say is your favorite simple finisher of all time? I mean, it's all subjective, right? It depends on what you consider simple. For me, I think it doesn't get any more simpler than Jake Roberts' DDT. I think it sets motion for what the DDT should be nowadays. It's just like a transitional maneuver, but just how quick and how like vicious he would hit that DDT. There's no wonder why people still use it to this day. But we talk about Stone Cold and Bret Hart, and we have to look back. You have to look back. What would you say is the night the DDT died? I can't pick that out, Dwayne. Come on, there's like years of professional wrestling to single that out. I don't know about a single night. I think it's just the evolution of the business, because over time people want to get more flashy. You look at the guys like the Will Ospreys of the world, and don't get me wrong, I love Will Ospreay, but there's an aerial attack when it comes to pro wrestling now, or at least within the last 20 years. So over time, the DDT kind of becomes more simplistic. It's not as exciting. Not to say it's not, but for audience members, a DDT is nothing compared to a tornado DDT. It evolves over time. The sport evolves. It's like in basketball, where it's like the simple, just two-handed dunk was standard. People were amazed that people were going to get up there and hit a dunk. But over time, we see the Vince Carters of the world, start hitting the windmills. We see the Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordans, Dr. J's. It just evolves. It evolves over time. Thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate that so much. Appreciate that so much. Thank you. But we're talking about Stone Cold and Bret Hart. And the story here really begins in WCW. Stone Cold Steve Austin, who wasn't even Stone Cold at that time. He was known as Stunning Steve Austin. For those who don't know, he had long, luscious hair. Maybe not luscious. He was starting to join the bald club pretty soon. It was thinning very, very quickly. But it was towards the end of that run in WCW. He was in contention for the US title. A mid card guy was Stone Cold. They didn't see him as a marketable force in WCW. There was a point where he had been rehabbing his triceps injury. He was on the shelf. He was at home, recuperating, rehabbing. And then Eric Bischoff and the management in WCW would FedEx him his papers, releasing him, saying he was no longer needed, that his services were no longer required. And because of that, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or I guess just Austin at this point, had a level of resentment. I'm out here injured. I give my body to this business, and you don't even have the decency to tell me. Phone call, in person, instead, he had to get it through the mail. So there's this level of resentment that's already building. He's released in September of 1995. And from there, he would go ahead and join Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, who was ran by Paul Heyman, a friend of Austin, someone that was managed by Paul Heyman in WCW. Shout out from Ava Tyson. Love the username. Muhammad, welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you, buddy. Doing well. Thank you very much. So in his time in ECW, this is Austin's opportunity to really vent. He was already injured. He couldn't participate physically, at least not yet. He would have championship matches against Mikey Whipwreck for the ECW title. But Paul Heyman tells him, you know what? Go out there and just vent. Air your grievances. Talk about what you want to talk about. And in this moment, Stunning Steve Austin begins to change. He begins to evolve. He's no longer one half of the Hollywood Blondes alongside Brian Pillman, the loose cannon. But we start seeing early indicators of what Stone Cold Steve Austin would become. The brash, the arrogance, that aggression that was found lying underneath all this suppression by Steve Austin. He would begin poking fun at the WCW, at Eric Bischoff. He had this new attitude, and it really allowed him a chance to develop this new character, hone in on his mic skills. Everyone knew he could go in the ring, but it's like Eric Bischoff said, could he be marketable? Is he someone that would make you buy a ticket to see the show? And in ECW, Austin would improve on the microphone. He would improve with his promos, his character work. From there, he would parlay into the WWF in early 1996, except he wasn't Stunning Steve Austin. He wasn't this early indication of a Stone Cold. He came in as the ringmaster. And the ringmaster, for a lot of people, are kind of hit and miss. You know, he was partnered up with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, awarded the $1 Million Championship, but it didn't seem like a good fit for Austin. It didn't seem like a good fit. He still had his little buzz cut of a hair, clean face, but it wasn't until he shaved his head completely and grew a goatee. And fun fact, it was actually inspired by Bruce Willis's performance in Pulp Fiction, a great film, by the way, one of my all-time favorites, that he got that look from. And Stone Cold Steve Austin, in 1995, was the ringmaster. But pretty soon, it was in 1996, that he ended up feuding with Savio Vega. Had a couple of Caribbean strap matches, really putting him on the map in the WWF at least. And from there on, Austin's developing momentum that coincides with the curtain call. We talked about this in a previous live stream. Triple H, then known as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, was supposed to win the 1996 King of the Ring event. Ultimately, he was punished because of the curtain call event, which, little sidebar here, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, all good buddies. All good buddies behind the scenes, except Triple H and Diesel were heels, and Razor and Shawn were baby faces. And so in their final night together, because Hall and Nash were going to the WCW, they get in the ring and they embrace, they hug, saying goodbye, breaking character. Good guys aren't supposed to be with the bad guys. Why are they hugging? Why is everyone in a good mood? It broke kayfabe, and it broke ground. Hall and Nash going to be punished. Shawn wasn't going to be punished because he was the champion. So that left Triple H. And it left an opening for the 1996 King of the Ring event. Enter Steve Austin, who was building up a level of momentum of his own. In the first matchup of the night, Austin would sustain an injury that required medical attention, a couple of stitches for him. So he misses Jake Roberts' matchup. Jake Roberts advances to the finals to face Stone Cold Steve Austin and cuts a religious promo because at this time Jake Roberts was battling his own demons, had his own battles with alcoholism, and cut a promo with a couple of religious references in them. And so on the way to the ring, Austin's told, hey, just giving the heads up, Jake Roberts cut a promo. And it was like a biblical type of promo. So, okay, we're already lodging it in the mind of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Quick shout out to Sammy in the chat. Says, give me a hell yeah with the glass breaks. Awesome. Absolutely love it. Stone Cold Steve Austin faces Jake Roberts in the finals. He goes on to defeat Jake Roberts in a pretty, quick and you miss it matchup, but that's not the point. People don't remember the match. They remember what happens after. Stone Cold Steve Austin gets on the microphone again, the new King of the Ring in 1996, and he's up there with Michael PSAs, who's going by the name of Doc Hendricks. And he talks about Jake Roberts and says, he's basically mocking him, trying to come back from his addictions, coming back from his battles with his demons, and he wants to acknowledge that Jake Roberts still isn't good enough. It's an iconic promo that odds are you have heard of, even if you are a casual or a diehard fan. But he goes on to say, you sit there, you thump your Bible, talk about Psalms, talk about John 3:16, and for the first time ever, Austin 3:16 is uttered. Dwayne already knows. Dwayne already knows. And in that moment, the wrestling world changes. I think the argument could be made that right there is the beginning of the Attitude Era. I spoke to my brother about this topic the other day. He asked, what do you think is the beginning of the Attitude Era? And I think the Austin 3:16 promo set in motion the rise, the meteoric rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I know some people are going to say Montreal, the screw job. Other people will say WrestleMania 13, which we'll get to. And some people think when Austin wins the title in 98. I think it's this. I think this is the spark. This is the beginning of the Attitude Era. So Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's now the king of the ring. He's cut the iconic Austin 3:16 promo. And after this, he begins antagonizing Bret the Hitman Hart. We're in the summer of 96. Around this time, Bret Hart has stepped away from the WWE. He had recently lost the WWF title to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12 in the 60-man Iron Man match. 60-minute Iron Man match. So he steps away from the business, feeling a little bit drained. His passion for the business has diminished, essentially. And so Austin is now antagonizing Bret. Where is he? Challenging him to a matchup. You say you're the Hitman. You say you're the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Where are you at? Because I'm here, the king of the ring. I'm the best that the business has to offer, yet you're not here. He continues to challenge him until finally, at the Survivor Series in November of 1996, Madison Square Garden, Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin finally do battle. One-on-one, and the added caveat, whoever wins is the #1 contender for the WWE title, essentially. And what was a solid matchup, a matchup that some people prefer over WrestleMania 13's, but I mean, hey, I'm a little biased. I think the WrestleMania 13 match is just that much better. Bret Hart gets the victory, beating Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, it's important to recognize that Bret Hart's the conquering hero. He's been gone for nearly half the year. And he comes back the baby face. Everyone loves to see Bret Hart. We love seeing one of the best there is to compete in the ring. And Stone Cold Steve Austin, again, the antagonist. He's the bad guy. He's the villain. He's the one poking buttons and trying to get under people's skin. But in that day, Bret Hart gets the victory and is named the #1 contender for the WWE title. At this point in time, Psycho Sid, aka Sid Justice, has just won the WWE title, defeating Shawn Michaels that very same night at the Survivor Series 96. So the stage is set for the next In Your House event in December 96. Psycho Sid versus Bret the Hitman Hart, and Bret the Hitman Hart comes just so close to winning that WWE title for a fifth time. But because of interference by the Heartbreak Kid, who was not finished with Sid Justice, Bret loses the matchup on account of that interference. Feeling screwed out of that championship, Bret Hitman Hart's already upset. It's a boiling point. It's starting to become more of a pet peeve for Bret the Hitman Hart. So he loses that opportunity. Next up, Shawn Michaels is going to fight Psycho Sid at the Royal Rumble 1997 event. And at the Royal Rumble, Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, both participants in the titular matchup. Stone Cold enters at number 5. Goes on to eliminate 10 people in this matchup. But before we get to the end, there's a moment in this matchup where Mankind has a little bit of a scuffle, on the outside of the ring. The referees have their back turned, and Bret Hart eliminates Stone Cold Steve Austin, vanquishing his foe from the Survivor Series. He eliminates Stone Cold, but the referees don't see it. They have their back turned. So Stone Cold slides back into the ring, and as The Undertaker and Vader are eliminated, he dumps out the Bret the Hitman Hart. Referees caught that one. They caught that one. And Stone Cold Steve Austin wins the Royal Rumble matchup. A matchup that technically he was eliminated from. He should not even been in the matchup. But the refs didn't see it, and the ref's decision is final, essentially. At least in 97 it was. Shout out to Sean in the chat there. Appreciate you, buddy. So Bret Hart, again, feeling that he got screwed in December's pay-per-view against Psycho Sid, has now gotten screwed at the Royal Rumble because on account of an eliminated Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back in to win the matchup. One of the final participants, or the other final participants, I should say, in this match, Bret Hart, Stone Cold, Vader, and The Undertaker. So at this point in time, Shawn Michaels wins the WWE title at the Royal Rumble event, defeating Psycho Sid. And at the Final Four pay-per-view in February, Austin, Vader, Taker, and Bret are going to be in a matchup here where the winner becomes the number 1 contender for the WWE title and gets that championship shot at WrestleMania 13. Except Shawn Michaels suffers an injury. Says that he's lost his smile. He has to vacate the title. Will not be able to participate at WrestleMania 13. So now we have a vacant title. No champion. So that 4-way matchup is now, rather than for a number 1 contender spot, it's for the title. It's for the WWE Championship. Who emerges victorious? Bret the Hitman Hart. The excellence of execution. The best there is. The best there was. The best there ever will be, right? He finally wins the WWE title. And a correction, this would be his 4th time. This was his 4th title reign. He eliminates The Undertaker to win that matchup. So The Undertaker is named the number 1 contender. But Psycho Sid is owed a rematch, essentially. So he challenges Bret Hart the following night on Monday Night Raw. The following night, Stone Cold Steve Austin interferes, and Bret Hart's 1-day title reign comes to an end at the hands of Psycho Sid. That is now 3, folks. If you're keeping track at home, that is now 3 times that Bret Hart has an argument that he has been screwed out of the WWE title. That's on the following night. So we start to build up. Taker's the number 1 contender. So at WrestleMania 13, it will be The Undertaker versus Psycho Sid for the WWF title. And on the flip side, Bret Hart has a beef with Stone Cold Steve Austin, so we're going to have that submission match at WrestleMania 13. But out of fairness, Gorilla Monsoon, who was the authority figure at that point in time, tells Bret Hart, you know what, you're going to get one last championship opportunity here. The final Raw before WrestleMania 13. It is a steel cage match. Psycho Sid defends his title against Bret Hart with huge ramifications. If Bret Hart wins this title back, his match against Stone Cold will be for the title. And if Psycho Sid loses this championship, then it means The Undertaker will not have an opportunity for that title. As you could imagine, The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin, they interfere. They interfere during the matchup, preventing one or the other from winning. The Undertaker wants Stone Cold Steve Austin, or excuse me, wants Bret Hart to lose this matchup. So his match still keeps the WWE title. And Austin kind of needs Bret Hart to win this matchup so he can win that WWE title. But in the end, The Undertaker gets the upper hand and prevents Bret Hart from winning the title. Sid wins again. 4 times Bret Hart's been screwed. 4 times. And so after this event, it leads to the Bret Hart, profanity-laced promo against Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon says, understandably, Bret Hart, you must be frustrated. And he delivers one of the best promos, I think, because it had a sense of realism to it. He tells him that frustrated isn't the damn word for it, and that's putting it nicely. He talks about how it's BS, how he's been screwed so many times, that everyone's turning a blind eye, that he knows it, that Vince knows it, Gorilla Monsoon knows it, the people know it, that he should be the rightful WWE champion, that everybody has been screwing over Bret Hart, and that he should be the champion, that he is the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be. To the point where he tells people, and if you don't like it, that's tough. And again, that's putting it nicely. So the stage is set. The stage is set for WrestleMania. The WWE Championship will be Psycho Sid versus The Undertaker. And then the Austin versus Hart match still maintains that submission match, which actually has Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee. Ken Shamrock, better known for his time as the Ultimate Fighting Champion, the UFC. This was a pre-WWE Ken Shamrock. He would join the WWE later that year. But at this point, he's still the referee. And what an entrance it was for Stone Cold Steve Austin. For people who are familiar with the matchup, you guys already know what I'm talking about. Stone Cold Steve Austin emerges from the back. We have a logo of Austin 316. And just as the music hits and the glass shatters, so too does that logo. It's a great entrance. One of the iconic WrestleMania entrances of all time. Austin comes out. Bret comes out. And the match starts. And from there on out, early attack by Stone Cold Steve Austin. He has a double leg takedown onto the Hitman, begins beating him down, and before you know it, Bret and Austin find their way into the crowd. They're fighting into the crowd, really bringing the fight. Austin, Hart, no love lost between these two. Bret Hart tries to regain control as they head into the ring, and he starts becoming that ring general that we know Bret Hart to be, continuing to lay the pound on Austin. Austin, his offensive approach, very much like a pit bull, very vicious, very rabid, all over the place, and Bret Hart's precision, his patience, really fared well against Austin. He was able to target certain spots of Stone Cold, namely the knee brace, where we're talking about his injured knee. Austin has had some issues with that, of course, in the past, but for a brief moment there, Austin regains the I guess you can say control of the matchup with a quick stunner. Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't have it for too long though, because Bret Hart, ever the technician, regains control and then moves on to attack that knee and has the figure 4 leg lock against the ring post, which is something that they've never done before. It was the first time that we've seen the figure 4 against the post by Bret Hart. Really nailing it in to Stone Cold Steve Austin. The momentum swings back and forth between the two, and then Bret Hart brings the chair. He brings the chair in, and then that gives Austin an opportunity because he seizes that chair and it begins to attack Bret the Hitman Hart. But then Bret, once he gets Austin on the outside one more time, swings Austin to the timekeeper's area and this busts Steve Austin open. Now we're seeing a little bit of color, seeing a little bit of blood come out. Hart then begins to target that blood, uses the chair on the knee, uses the chair on the face, and from there on out, we see a failed sharpshooter attempt. Bret Hart can't get it on, but it's getting close. Austin, again, briefly gets the upper hand with a quick low blow, a good shot to the groin area, and the crowd cheers this. Keep in mind, Austin's a bad guy. Bret Hart's technically the good guy, has all the reason in the world to be upset as he's been screwed time and time again. The low blow only gets Austin so much, but he gets cheered, right? From there on out, we get the cable spot. From here, Stone Cold gets the cables, starts to choke out Bret Hart, but he begins to counter that with the ring bell, swings it towards Austin, gives him a good old ring, and from there on out, he gains the upper hand. He puts in the sharpshooter, and what I think is one of the greatest finishes of all time. Austin has blood coming down his face, streaming, trying to beat Bret Hart, trying to get out of this sharpshooter. And the classic shot of his face rising up, the camera panning right to his face, zooms in on the blood pouring down his forehead, down to his mouth, down his teeth, down his chin, to the middle of the mat. Giving it everything he got, and Austin will not give up. He will not submit, and he will not quit. Shout out to Gabs there for the thumbs up. Appreciate that so much, Gabs. He won't give up. And in that moment, Bret Hart, recognizing that he's not going to put him away, he cinches it in even more. And Bret Hart causes Stone Cold Steve Austin to writhe in pain, reaches out for the ropes, can't get to the ropes, won't give up, and he begins to fade. He begins to fade. Austin won't quit. Austin won't quit. Austin won't give up, but his body will. He passes out. Stone Cold passes out from the sharpshooter. Bret Hart's the winner, proving that he is the best there is. And it was a great performance by both men. But that wouldn't be all. Bret Hart then goes on to attack Stone Cold Steve Austin, giving him a beat down to the point where Ken Shamrock had to intervene. Yeah, that's right. Ken Shamrock still in the ring, tosses Bret over to the side, but the crowd has now kind of turned. The crowd boos Bret Hart. What are you doing? What are you doing, Bret? The match is over. You haven't won. What are you doing? And as he's walking away to the back, he's flipping off people, cursing at other people. The crowd has now turned on Bret Hart. And now Austin's left alone in the ring, and he's trying to get to his feet. A referee is trying to help him up, but he stuns the referee. And then after that, he walks on his own accord. He was able to walk under his own power. And the fans love it. They recognize, wow, this guy gave a performance of a lifetime. This guy's pretty cool. And they side with Austin. In professional wrestling, this is called a double turn, when you're successfully able to do a face turn and a heel turn at the same time. They flipped the perception of both Austin and Bret Hart. Bret Hart was the good guy heading into the matchup. Austin was the bad guy heading into the matchup, but coming out of it, the roles were reversed. The roles were reversed, and it would begin the ascension of Stone Cold Steve Austin in what I think is one of the greatest moments in professional wrestling history, because it is probably the biggest star that WWE had ever had. You want to look at it from marketing, gear, ratings. To this day, everyone knows Stone Cold. If you don't watch pro wrestling, you know Stone Cold. He would go on to be one of the all-time greats, leading a generation, leading an era of the Attitude Era that helped beat WCW in the Monday Night Wars. And to think that he would only be in the business for another short, 6 years? Not that long. Not that long, but still having a legacy-defining moment here at WrestleMania 13. It's one of my favorite matchups. I'm glad it won the poll here today. And I'm glad that I was able to share that with you guys here in tonight's stream and talk about the ascension of Stone Cold Steve Austin and just the all-time greatness of Bret the Hitman Hart. I want to get to some of these comments in the chat here as we were talking about them. Dwayne says, "What do you think? Who do you think had a better clothesline, JBL or Volkov moves, also known as clothesline from hell, and the Russian sickle?" You know, I can't speak on it. I haven't watched too much of Volkov, so I'd have to go JBL. I haven't seen too much of Volkov. Not really my bag. The Stan reference in the chat I see. Mariana in the chat, appreciate that. Thank you. Got a little bit of a singer there in the chat I see. Right on. Thank you for the hearts. But yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin had a career making performance at WrestleMania 13. Didn't win the matchup, but would win the night. I mean, what a great showing. The grit, the determination, the fire that was lit under Austin. And keep in mind, too, you go back to his days in WCW, we talked about it at the top of the stream. Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't seen as a marketable entity in the WCW. That's why they fired him. But coming out of WrestleMania 13, he would skyrocket to the top. I mean, the Austin 316 t shirts, one of the all time greatest t shirts in wrestling. Maybe I'm wrong, but it might be the most sold t shirt of all time. Definitely one of those that, I mean, I have one. I wouldn't be surprised if some people in the chat have them as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Mariana. Says I love your content. I love sharing it. It was something that we talked about when making the channel. It's like I've spent so much time watching it, as a kid growing up and retaining so much of the memories and the information. It's like, why not just put it to use and share with other people who are either longtime viewers of the product or are new fans getting into it. I love being able to have that opportunity and share with you guys. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to present it to you. So I'm glad you liked it. If you guys like the stream, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Keep commenting in the chat or in the comment section as well. Much appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already. I know I've seen some people sub during the stream, so much appreciated. And but yeah, no, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all time great. Someone that I think we're gonna end up seeing at WrestleMania 41. Thank you for the emojis in the chat. I see you. I see you all. Gas, everybody knows Austin 316. How can you not? There are so many pro wrestling fans out there, like I said, who have grown up watching it, who have stopped watching it, came back to it, have never seen it. You know who Austin is. He's one of those guys like I would think Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, The Rock, John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those are like the five. Maybe Ric Flair too. Those are the guys that I think everybody would be able to recognize. I appreciate that Tijuana Tacos says just came in to say hi and good night. Got to work. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much, Tijuana. Always nice to see you, buddy. Thank you so much. Hopefully everything goes well at work. Right on, man. But I mean, we always open up these streams for you guys to have any questions or comments. If anything, there's been a level of news in professional wrestling and NXT and AEW. I kind of want to incorporate more of like a news basis, giving my thoughts and opinions on the current product. And as we go, you guys feel free to chime in and voice your guys' opinions as well. I'll start with NXT this past Tuesday. Appreciate that so much. Thank you so much, Gabs. I'll go and start with NXT. Stephanie Vaquer, I think very highly of. Ever since seeing her matchup against Mercedes Moné in AEW, I'm always going to be the kind of guy who I'm not going to pretend like, oh, I've seen this person for years. No, I'm not going to be that guy in front with you guys. But seeing her work and seeing her evolve, man, she's good. She's really good. She recently won the NXT North American Championship at Vengeance Day. And now, having defeated Julia for the NXT Championship, double champion. Double champion. We don't get too many of those every now and then. But Stephanie Vaquer now looks to next Tuesday's NXT. She will be defending both the NXT Women's title and the North American title in one night. And you know what that means? It's very difficult for a champion to successfully defend two titles in one night. I'm thinking she's dropping one. For the NXT title, she'll be defending it against Miss Jada Parker, a rising star in NXT in her own right. And for the NXT North American title, a rematch for Fallon Henley, who was the previous champion, having lost at Vengeance Day. If you ask me, I think it's probably the North American title because I don't think they're going to drop that world title to Jada Parker just yet. Not to say she's not deserving of it. I think it's just not that time. Julia sustained an injury, which is why she had to drop that title to Stephanie. So I'm thinking they're going to want to have someone like a Stephanie at the top of that division, rightfully so. Either way, it should be a great night in terms of wrestling. Super looking forward to it. What do you think, Zilla Fatu? Signed with the WWE, he's very talented. You know, he's gonna be there. You know, at one point or another, Zilla Fatu has to be there. The potential in him alone. Not only that, but let's face it, he's a member of the Bloodline, and you know the WWE likes to load up on their participants and their members of the Bloodline. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. He'll be there. I would not be surprised if it wasn't by the end of the year. Maybe 2026, but probably sooner rather than later. And shout out to Umaga as well. I think an underrated talent during his time in the Ruthless Aggression era. Had great matches with John Cena. One of my favorite matches of his certainly was the Royal Rumble Last Man Standing match for sure. Big Show Bono sumo match. Oh man, you could if that's like one of those matches you watch to kill time, I get it, but that's a match I'm skipping. No disrespect to Akibono, no disrespect to Big Show either. That's right on. But I mean, hey, we were talking about Stephanie Vaquer having to defend those titles. Can't wait for it. Any updates on Ray Phoenix? Great question there, Gabs. So we saw a vignette on SmackDown that was heavily, you know, kind of hinting Ray Phoenix. We saw a little bit of his tattoo and his mask. So the question again is, when is he coming? Not if he is, but when. I'm thinking he's probably going to show up before WrestleMania. They could definitely hold off and have him appear the week after WrestleMania because they kind of like to load those shows up as they move forward to the next WrestleMania. I do believe that he'll be there before. I think what they're going to end up doing is having him on SmackDown. I think it was very evident that they're going to keep him separate because, correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't believe there was a vignette on Raw for Phoenix. And they're going to do, I think, what I'd mentioned earlier. Have Penta on Raw, have Phoenix on SmackDown, continue to build them both up as single stars. Build up that equity. You know, you want them to be big stars on their own. So eventually, when they do team up, it's going to be fire. It's going to be great. If I had to guess for you, Gabs, I'm thinking within 3 weeks. Because with Penta, I feel like it was 3-4 weeks that they showed those vignettes, and then he popped up on the scene. Maybe I'm wrong, and they have Phoenix team up with his brother. But I'm certainly looking forward to it. Can't wait. All love from India. Thank you so much, Khan. Nothing but love, buddy. Thank you. Becky Lynch is a great question. And then I see with Alexa Bliss, I don't know about Alexa Bliss. You know, they brought her back for the Royal Rumble, and for some reason, we haven't seen anything from her since the Chamber. If you asked me, I thought there was going to be something involvement with the Wyatt Six, maybe her and Nikki Cross challenging for the tag titles. Not the case. Don't know if there's like a personal thing going on, or maybe creative doesn't have anything for her. Don't know. Becky Lynch, though, is a great point, though. We know that she's been gone, taking time with the family. So I look at it, and I honestly thought she was going to be there for the Rumble. Not the case. If you ask me, Muhammad, which you are, I guess, Becky Lynch is going to be there the night after WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to introduce her this late in the game. I would expect her to be maybe the Raw after Mania. They like loading those up with surprises. They like to talk about, you know, getting ready for the next wave of stars for WrestleMania 42. That's why I think. That's funny. WWE is only good with Austin and The Rock. Ironically enough, The Rock is around here and now and then. But Loki says WWE is so fake, bro. Was only good with Austin and Rock. Buddy, I hate to tell you, but yeah. If you think it's fake now, it's always been fake, I guess. But I digress. NXT also had the underground San Fran. NXT also had the underground matchup between Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe. two rising stars on NXT. I definitely think people have to take a look at Trick Williams. That guy's gonna be a problem in the future. I think he's gonna be a star. He reminds me a lot of an amalgamation of The Rock and Booker T. I'm not saying he's gonna be as big as them, but I certainly see some elements in his promos, in his matchups. And they had a solid matchup, but what's gonna happen is afterwards, you know, Obafemi gets involved. Him and Trick Williams kind of have a shoving match, and then Javon Evans, the young OG, interjects himself, and it looks like we're maybe building towards a triple threat between Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Obafemi, who all three look like evolutions of themselves. I saw something on the internet where they compared them like Pokemon, where it's like Javon Evans is the first level, and then Trick, and then Oba. It just evolves over time. I think that'll be a hell of a matchup. I like what they're doing with Javon, trying to give him more credibility, more serious storylines for him to sink his teeth in, and for the audience to become invested in. I don't think the title changes hands. I think Obafemi is due for a long title reign. We saw how long his reign was as the North American champion. I am entitled to believe that that will also be the case for the NXT World Championship as well. A great showing, though, by them. And speaking of great showings, I look at Ricky Saints, formerly known as Ricky Starks, down in AEW. Got a victory over Ridge Holland. Like what I see from a young Ricky. A lot of potential in this guy. There's some people who are going to voice their opinions against him, but I do think he has that potential. He has that star quality about him. Can go on the mic and go in the ring. Has the look. The only thing that might go against him is his size. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but even then, that has not stopped some of the best guys like Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, just to name a few. He'll be fine. I think he'll just be fine. Looking forward to his progression, and it looks like Ricky Saints will be challenging Shawn Spears for that North American title. Maybe at Stand and Deliver, which I think he gets the victory. I don't see Spears as a long-term champion. Unfortunately for him, probably going to be a transitional champion to pass it along to Ricky Saints, who again will have the rocket strapped to him. Look for him to be an NXT champion as well. But AEW, which is where, you know, Ricky Saints came from, kind of hit the headlines these last 24 hours. The AEW World Championship was defended on Dynamite in a street fight. Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge, now going by Cope, challenged Jon Moxley for that title. And it's exactly what you expected, a brawl between two of the top stars in All Elite Wrestling, except there was a spot here where Adam Copeland, brings out, I believe, what was like a 2x4 or some kind of a piece of wood with spikes on it, and proceeds to, I believe it was a back body drop or a suplex. It might have been a suplex. Moxley onto the spikes. Look it up, like on Twitter, on YouTube. Jon Moxley, Adam Copeland, spikes, gnarly. To have that pierce through onto his back, or through his back, I should mean. I mean, some people would say it's reckless, dangerous. Maybe should have been a pay-per-view spot and not something for free TV. The fact that it made the waves on TV, I think, is crazy as it is. But Jon Moxley and Copeland left it all out there. I still think it was kind of reckless, very dangerous, could have went bad. Thankfully, it didn't. Moxley gets the victory, successfully retains his title against Adam Copeland, and he looks forward to Swerve Strickland at the Dynasty pay-per-view, which I think should be a good matchup. Big fan of Swerve. Big fan of Swerve. Muhammad, a transitional champion, is basically someone who's given the title just to give it up to someone else. We don't want this guy to lose the title to this guy, so we're going to give it to... So I'll give you an example. Bruno Sammartino won the championship, all the way back, way when. Lost it to Ivan Koloff, who was seen as a transitional champion, so he can lose to Pedro Morales. His sole purpose was to just give that title to the next guy. Another example, Bob Backlund was the champion, lost to Iron Sheik, who held it for about a month, maybe 2 months, just to lose it to Hogan. therefore transitioning it to the next guy. A waffle. AEW is an ECW. It should stop trying to be. Sammy, I kind of agree with you. I look at AEW and they have so much potential to be like a bigger promotion, but I feel like on the grand scheme, they're very much still an indie. They're an independent, promotion that is trying to go mainstream, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's call a spade a spade. It still strikes me as an indie company and not necessarily on the WWE's level. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I do like AEW. I just don't like that we're not self-aware, that we're not holding everybody accountable. You can do that spot every now and then. That's why I'm thinking at pay-per-view, that's probably the more ideal spot to do that type of a stunt. For it to be on free TV is wild. But hey, that's their prerogative. I'm still gonna watch the product, and I'm still gonna watch the show like that. But it's tough. There will never be another ECW, but you can see people are still trying to emulate it for sure. What kind of cheese? If you're gonna say cheese, you gotta say what kind of cheese, buddy. Dolph Ziggler to Braun Breaker. I mean, hey, that's not a bad example, Muhammad. Yeah, not a bad example because he did hold it for a short time there. Christian to Randy Orton. The Christian to Randy Orton one, I don't know. Because with that one, they actually feuded over the title. Christian did lose it to Randy, but then would win it back, and they had an extended feud for over several months. I don't know if that one would qualify as a transitional champion because it's more of like a guy that was just used for the one time. Just for the one time. Dolph Ziggler's a good example. Christian maybe, but for me personally, I wouldn't put him on there. I wouldn't put him on there. AEW also had an entertaining fatal four-way to start the night to qualify for a match against Kenny Omega for the International Championship. Mike Speedball Bailey and Ricochet would actually qualify in an interesting spot where we saw Bailey get the pin on Mark Davis with like a backslide pinning maneuver, except Ricochet at the very last second would also get in on that and would have his feet on the rope, giving him leverage. So they decided, okay, we'll call it a draw. Give Ricochet and Speedball Bailey, the match at Dynasty. Interesting, creative. My only critique is I hate when they make the referees look stupid. Clearly, he could tell that the body was like anchored a certain way to have the feet on the ropes, but I digress. What's the purpose of transitioning? Why not just give it to them? That's a great question, Gabs. Sometimes in wrestling, the bookers can be stubborn, which is fine, but it's also a matter of who's beating who. Sometimes you don't want one of your top baby faces to lose to another baby face and diminish them. It's all about protecting them. So here's an argument that could be made. Let's say John Cena is the champion, and he is going to want to feud against Cody Rhodes for the title, and they want to save it for something. The Rock or John Cena? That's tough. That's tough. I could flip a coin and it could change. Right now, though, I'll probably say The Rock, but I love John Cena. Anyway, transitional champion. It's just moving over the heat. Top babyface here. Give the heat to the heel. We don't like the heel. Pronouns. He, him. You guys are going to be sidetracked. I'm trying to answer Gabs. If this guy loses the championship, San Martino's the big baby face. He's the top guy. Him losing to Ivan Koloff now takes all that heat to Ivan Koloff. We hate Ivan. We hate Ivan. We don't like him. He beat our guy. Here comes the next guy, Pedro Morales. We want him to win. He's a good guy. Him beating Ivan Koloff now takes that heat and turns it into a positive reaction, therefore making Pedro Morales. He's now a babyface. He's a top guy because he beat one of the most hated figures by defeating San Martino for an 8-year title reign. So it's just a matter of moving the heat, moving the attention. If Pedro Morales had beaten San Martino one-on-one, who's to say the fans would have accepted Morales? Maybe they boo him because he beat San Martino. But by having Ivan Koloff in the middle, take the heat, take the hate, essentially. And then we pass the positivity to Morales for getting that victory over him. Because you're risking having Morales getting booed by beating San Martino. So you have that middleman to kind of buffer. I hope that makes sense. But it's all depending on who is in the equation. That's what they would do a transitioning there. Cena or Randy? I'm gonna go Cena. Love Randy, but I'm a Cena guy. If you were to put those two up against one another, for sure. I get it, to make us like the new champ, basically. I mean, yeah, in a way. It's like having to choose. Like, why am I gonna choose between my two favorites? You know, I don't want to have to choose. Why are my favorites fighting? Where it's like, okay, he lost and this guy beat him. Hey, but my new favorite is beating this guy. So basically, Edge should have stayed with WWE. Sammy, I agree with you. He had a great match against Sheamus. That could have been it. I think he should have stayed with WWE, called it a career there. But I do respect and acknowledge why he went to AEW. A new crop of talent to have a match with, new possibilities, a new horizon, extending his career, by going to another promotion. So I get it. I respect it. But I would be lying to you if I didn't say I wish he would have called it a career. Which Hardy? Love Matt Hardy, but gotta go Jeff. Love Matt, but I gotta go Jeff. I like Edge. Edge is great. I like Edge too. It's just like you never want to see someone go too long and essentially hurt their legacy. I mean, I look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I know it's football, but it resonates. Aaron Rodgers could have retired before going to the Jets, and ever since joining them, it's not a good look. He's just hurting his legacy. Punk or Hardy? CM Punk every day. Every day, twice on Sunday. That's my guy. CM Punk all day. No doubt about it. Speaking of CM Punk, one of his former rivals, MJF, also has a big decision to make on next week's AEW. He talked to MVP, the manager of the Hurt Syndicate, essentially, and he has a choice on whether or not he wants to join the Hurt Syndicate. He was offered the business card by one MVP, and he says he has some thinking to do. He'll make that decision next week, but MJF hasn't been the champion for quite some time. Has been on, he just lost to Hangman Adam Page. And so I'm very curious to see if they move forward with it. I don't think he joins them. I think that trauma with Adam Cole definitely will prevent him from trusting someone else. He'll go solo, but it's booking him in a corner. Either he teams with the Hurt Syndicate, and if he doesn't, are they going to feud with him? I don't know. I'm very interested to see where they move with that. Cooking with Cena says, I love Shawn. I'm a big Shawn Michaels fan myself. He's my all-time favorite pro wrestler. Are you an AEW fan? I like AEW. But I wouldn't say like I'm a single fan of theirs. Like I just love wrestling. I watch WWE, watch AEW, try to keep up with TNA, but you only have so many hours in the week. So, but I do enjoy their product. But I grew up a WWE fan. I mean, clearly because AEW's only been around for what 5-6 years. But I watch their stuff. I'm a fan. I would say. I'm just a fan of wrestling. And in AEW as well, Mercedes Moné had defended her title, the TBS Championship, against Billy Starks, who we've seen on Ring of Honor. Young and up-and-coming talent, known for her time under the tutelage of Athena, who is the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Now, for 2 years, I'm a fan of you. Appreciate that, San Fran 5. Do you like Cody? Big fan of Cody. We're rooting for him at WrestleMania 41. But yeah, if you guys didn't know that, Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon in WWE, has been the Ring of Honor Women's Champion for like 2 years now. I don't feel like she gets enough recognition because, let's be real, who's watching Ring of Honor? I mean, it's a fact. They have their Honor Club subscription where you can watch their shows, but I don't feel like a lot of people do, unless if you're like really, really diehard Ring of Honor or just diehard wrestling. But again, only so many hours in the week. But a 2-year title ring is very, very impressive. Would you like to see MJF sign with the WWE? I would, because again, it's one of those things where you're expanding your horizon, you're fighting with other guys, having new matches, and opening up your legacy, right? Very similar to how Edge, we just talked about, did it. I totally get it. I hope he does, and I feel like a lot of people, that's the end game. Everybody wants to go to WWE at the end of the day because they want to compete at WrestleMania. You grew up a fan, you want to be at WrestleMania. I would love to see it. I would love to see him continue his feud with Cody. That'd be crazy. I wonder what Vince thinks of heel Cena. That's a great question, Sammy. I would think he would be a fan. And the reason I say that is because, well, your cozy says I like heel Cena. I do too. I like what I saw. But I think you'd be a fan because Vince is a businessman and Cena as a heel is doing great business. I mean, the amount of views that that clip had gotten, the reaction in Belgium that he had gotten, ridiculous. It's gonna move numbers, and again, it's one of those things where you're gonna put over Cody. I'm thinking Cody's gonna win, and to have him beat Roman and Cena in back-to-back manias, ooh, that's huge. That's big business for your baby face. I would think at this point he'd be a fan of it. Obviously, in his prime, probably not, because of ticket sales and T-shirt sales and whatnot. Cody or Cena? If we're talking about right now, Cody. I'm rocking with Cody. I think Cena should get one last title shot. Well, he is at WrestleMania 41. He will be challenging for the WWE title, getting another title shot because he won the Elimination Chamber. We're going to see if he can get number 17 by beating Cody Rhodes. But yes, he'll get that other championship match. Do you believe in Shawn Michaels? Yeah, I believe in Shawn Michaels. I think he's one of the all-time greats, the GOAT, if anything. And the way he's running NXT, pretty damn good. I can see Cena walking out and shocking everyone once again. Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I've said in previous videos and streams that my mind could change. I could change my opinion. But as of right now, I got Cody winning. I got Cody winning. And my reasoning for that, again, it could change because I need to see how the promos are building and how the story progresses. But my reasoning behind that is because John Cena still has until December. And I feel like we're going to see a more desperate John trying to win that WWE title. I think Cody gets the victory and Cena just becomes increasingly aggressive, ruthless aggression, becoming desperate, maybe winning Money in the Bank, and that's how he cashes in and wins the title. That's just my early prediction when it comes to that. I believe in Joe Hendry, says San Fran. I'm hearing rumors of Austin turning heel at May. I hope not, Sammy. I really hope not. Him and Cena and Rock together. Good God, what are they good? Like, who's gonna stop that? I'm hoping he does appear though and helps Cody. He was like the only big star at last year's Mania that didn't appear. So hopefully he makes a run in and helps out Cody. Say his name and he appears. Damn right. Joe Hendry, TNA champion, who I think will be appearing soon in WWE. Very soon. Did you hear what The Rock is going to do at Mania? No, John, what is he gonna do? I haven't heard about The Rock. I kind of stay away from that kind of stuff. It's not like I actively stay away from it, but it's just stuff I don't look for. But I'm curious what's going on. What's going on? What's the best match of all time? I I'm biased. Taker versus Shawn, WrestleMania 25. Thank you, Gaps, for the thumbs up. Appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. Um, I'm a big fan of that one. I also think the Halloween Havoc, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, that's up there as well. I mean, that's some people would argue WrestleMania 13, Austin versus Hart, is up there as well. It's very subjective. It all depends on your preference and what your style is for pro wrestling. But for me, it'd have to be WrestleMania 25. Thank you for the question. And hey, shout out to Gabs again with the CM Punk emoji. My favorite one that was added for sure. Greg says hello. What's going on? But WrestleMania, I mean, well, I'm curious too because we talked about The Rock. So hopefully we can get an answer there. Oh, there we go, John. He's appointing Logan Paul as the guest ref during Cody versus Cena match. I hope not. I hope not. I don't want that to happen. I think Logan Paul's gonna be too busy facing off against AJ Styles. That's what it looks like it's gonna end up being at WrestleMania. Which I'm not opposed. I think AJ is a great opponent for Logan Paul. I think their styles complement each other. I'm hoping AJ Styles gets the victory, but I find that very hard to believe, honestly. Would you like to see a new version of the WWE title? Yeah, this one's growing on me. With Roman and Cody, it looks really good. I was kind of hoping for an updated version of the Winged Eagle. Obviously, you can see mine back here. An updated version of that, but because of the story they ran at Saturday night's main event, I don't know if that's a possibility anymore. I can see them holding on to this one though. I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me. What bothered me was like the Universal title with the blue and red strap, but this is fine. I'm fine if they keep this one. If they were to change it, hopefully it's a more traditional looking title. Gab says you better take that back. I feel like Roman needs to be a part of the Rock and Cody and Cena angle. You're not wrong, Sammy. It's very difficult to believe that he's not involved with it. Cody beat him for the championship. The Rock is the High Chief. And I definitely think it'll feed into their feud, The Rock and Roman. Because I feel like Roman's going to look at Rock like, you chose him over me to represent. I think there's going to be a level of resentment there. PS2. I can't read that 4 hours ago. And other news, I don't know if you guys have heard of formerly known as Alberto Del Rio, now known as Alberto El Patron, and what's going on with him in Tijuana. We had a shout out there from Tijuana Tacos, but apparently, Alberto El Patron or Del Rio, depending on who you know him by, during a matchup, fans were throwing, I believe, were coins at him, and he ended up getting in the face of many members of the audience and I think assaulted them. Maybe I read it incorrectly, but let me just double check. Because I think I might have seen somewhere. So it says Alberto El Patron has reportedly received a wrestling ban in Tijuana following an incident with a fan during a AAA show. Fans reportedly threw coins at Patron, which resulted in him jumping into the crowd to confront the fans. He then seemingly threw a chair towards the fans, which resulted in another chair being thrown. An elderly woman was hurt during the incident and taken to a local hospital. In response to this, the Tijuana Wrestling Commission took action and banned Patron from wrestling within Tijuana for 6 months. Alberto's still making the headlines and still being a terrible person, I see. That's wild to get a ban in Tijuana and to throw a chair. Hopefully the elderly woman's doing okay. We hate to see anybody get hurt for that matter. Are fans turning on Jay? It appears so. It appears so. And I mean, if anything's to be an indication, you see online, a lot of people are disliking videos that include Jey Uso, but they've been against him even before the Royal Rumble win. Some people criticize his ring style, saying he doesn't have the best spear, which I mean, that's subjective. His promo style, the excessive yeets, but I mean, hey, Kevin, what's going on? I see you, buddy. Appreciate that, my friend. Missed you too. Glad you're here. But I'm a fan of Jey Uso. I'm rooting for Jey Uso. I don't know. The hate's weird. I always go back to, hey, pro wrestling fans they're an interesting bunch. People want new fans. Or sorry, they want new faces. They want new stars. And then when there is a new star, not that one. It's like, well, I mean, come on. Jey Uso's going to be fine. I think his matchup against Gunther is going to be good. I think he's going to win the world title. But the fans are beginning to turn on him. Sanfran, what's the joke? If WCW was still around, how do you think the wrestling industry would be today? So If let's say WCW would have been the WWF, because I don't think both would coexist. One would have to go out of business. If WCW would have won the war, I think pro wrestling would not be as big as it is, because we're talking about who was running the show: Bischoff, Vince Russo. I think WCW would have been gone by now. I really do. I feel like there would have been another promotion that would have stepped up. Not TNA, because Jeff Jarrett was with WCW, so I don't see him winning. Speaking of winning, the Warriors just won. Shout out to the Warriors. I don't think the wrestling business would be as great. I think it'd be in a tough spot. I think we would be stuck in an eternity, an eternal hell of that like early 2010s. He Ezra Millered them. That's crazy. What's going on? I still don't know about Soraya. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a personal thing, if it's an injury, but we haven't seen her for quite some time. Shout out to Jay. Right on. Prime Hunter or Prime Ray. If it's a matchup, Prime Hunter's winning. Triple H winning all day. If you're asking me as a fan, I'm going to go Ray. Jey Uso's growth in general was amazing. Remember Jay in 2012, his first appearance of main event in Raw. I don't know. And that's why I think it's so weird that people have turned against Jay. I'm a big fan of his. I can't wait to see what this next run will be for him. I just find it weird. I don't know. And the thing is, too, online, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of bad discourse when it comes to Jay and his moveset and the yeet. But then you watch the show and you see the people in the arena, and he's universally loved. Everybody's, chanting yeet with him. They're cheering him. If there was no social media and you just went solely based off of the audience's reaction, you would never know there was criticism for Jey Uso, because the fans in attendance don't reflect that. And I think they're going to end up taking more precedence. They're going to be having more of a say because they're the ones paying to see it. Is it true cannabis don't eat clowns because they taste funny? Oh, cannibals don't. That's crazy. I read it as cannabis. That's funny. That's a good one, San Fran. I like that one. What is it about Jay that gets him more over than Jimmy? Same for Jeff and Matt. What are your thoughts? I think it's just with Jeff, I can say it's because of the move set. This guy was a lot more, for better or worse, reckless than Matt Hardy. He was hitting the swantons. He was jumping off of the tall things. He had a cool look, the hair, the paint. That made him step away from Matt Hardy. When it comes to Jay and Jimmy, I really think it's because of the Bloodline saga. Early on, Jimmy was hurt, so it was just Jay and Roman, and that allowed him to shine. That allowed him to present his personality and get those matches against Roman in 2020 at Night of Champions in the Hell in a Cell. That benefited Jay. Jimmy's great in his own right, but it's like Jay got the head start and connected with the audience on a more closer basis. Speaking about cannibals, thoughts on Sabu's ECW entrance with the Hannibal Lecter? That's funny you mentioned that, Sanfran. We had mentioned this on Monday's stream, and I loved that entrance. I love seeing the Hannibal Lecter mask, the way they wheeled him out to the ring. Very iconic moment for Sabu, and one of the reasons why I became a fan of his. Just the presentation in itself. Big shout out to that throwback of an entrance. Do you think 2K will have a DLC with wrestlers like Jericho, Edge, and Christian appear on WWE? I do not. They're contracted with AEW. Their likeness is with them. That's why I was very surprised that Billy Gunn is going to be in the game as a DLC. But I don't see Jericho and Edge Christian being there so long as they're with AEW. You're going to have to resort to the community creations and wait for someone to customize and create those characters. Sammy, oh no, I know what you mean. I just thought the comparison was funny. But yeah, no, yes. I'm familiar with Ezra Miller. Terrible publicity for him. Not looking good. Still not looking good. I wanted to like the Flash movie, but I have yet to see it for a second time. It was good. It was okay. This is the perfect moment for Jay. I like what's coming his way. It is. It is. And people might go against him. So turn him heel. Hey, give him a reason to hate you. That'd be interesting if Jey Uso wins the world title and resorts to like the Roman Reigns type of a reign. Learning that from his cousin and falling in line and becoming him. He tries so hard to be unlike him, but the slow descent into that obsessive character for Jay would be very interesting. I'm all about character development, so I'm looking forward to that. Do you think WWE should be TV 14 or continue to be TV PG? Whatever it is right now, I'm fine with it because we do get the occasional curse, we do get the occasional blood. Right now, just keep it the way it is. And for me, it was never about being TV 14 or TV PG. Just give me good storylines, solid matches, and I don't care what the rating is. Um, so whatever it is right now, we can keep it here. It's a good, healthy balance, I think. RVD's. I've always said RVD in a word, coolest. He's the coolest wrestler. Cool gear, cool entrance, cool moves, cool personality. One of my favorites. Did WWE make the right move by making Matt Hardy turn heel in '09? I think so. Or Matt Hardy made the right move by turning on Jeff in the Rumble. I think it was the right move. It was a way to interject something fresh in that feud. We hadn't seen Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy since 2001. They had a feud. They had a match at Vengeance with Lita as the special guest referee. And aside from that, we never really got a program between Matt and Jeff Hardy in a singles capacity. I think it was the right move to have him turn heel. You can't turn Jeff heel. Jeff at that point was beloved. He was the top, maybe one of the top baby faces. I think it was the right move. I'd have to say so. What are your thoughts on wrestlers refusing to retire because never say never? Do you think they should send off to the sunset? I mean, it depends on who, right? I do like the phrase never say never because it's true in professional wrestling. You never say never. I mean, Bret Hart came back, CM Punk came back, you know, Ultimate Warrior came back. Like, you never say never. Now, when it comes to calling it a career, yeah, I think guys like Ric Flair went on way too long. Chris Jericho, he's there. I think he's there now where people are actually asking him to retire. Let's see. Matt Hardy was starting to lose popularity at that time, which again was the right call. Turn him heel, freshen it up, introduce a little bit of adrenaline into that feud. That's why I say that's the right call. Batista and Shawn, for example, Shawn could have kept going, but Shawn was the example of like knowing when to call it. He could have kept going and he called it at the right time. So Shawn's a perfect example of someone that knew when to retire. And he did it for family. He wanted to see his son and his daughter grow. Now, the one match in 2018, I ignore that. That was a one off. Batista knew when to call it again. He was only a top guy for like 5 years and went into Hollywood. So yeah, that's fine. Do you allow San Fran to watch a match if there's color now? My brothers didn't let me when I was growing up. So I love that. Gabs, great question here. I love sharing this story, especially with like my mom. Because growing up, I was watching wrestling like all around the clock. I would watch it with my family, but then of course like they would work or they were doing something else, and I'm watching it consistently. And so I was made privy. I was, you know, exposed to everything. The good, the bad, the blood, the guts, like everything. There was no there was no censor for me. So I saw everything first and I was very cautious about what my brother would watch. I'm the older brother, got to be responsible. I promised my parents I'd be responsible. And so if I knew that something was coming up that like maybe he was too young to see, I'd skip it. I'd fast forward it, whatever. I wouldn't have him watch it. And then I would buy the DVDs. And before the show began, they showed this preview, this trailer for ECW. And he asked me, like, well, that's cool. What is that? And I would tell him, like, you're too young. Like, one day, I'll show you. And I don't remember what age it was, but then it came to a point where I was like, you know what? I think you're ready. And I began to show him ECW. He started watching the stuff with, blood, the promos that had cursing in it, like, and he was exposed to this new side of pro wrestling because I didn't show him for the longest. Now, that's not to say maybe he had seen it without my supervision. I can't guarantee that, but I did hold back on certain things I would have him watch. He would, he would still watch it with me. As long that was my biggest thing. If he's watching it with me, that's fine, cuz then I know. But now that we're older, it's like all bets are off. Everyone's adults in this household. So, yeah. Thank you for the question. That was awesome. Favorite spine buster? Triple H, Batista, Arn Anderson. Kevin, Arn Anderson, all day, every day. I do like Batista's, but I'm going to go Arn Anderson. How would you feel about a WWE and TNA pay per view or premium live event? I would love it. You're cozy. You are cozy or you're cozy? I would love it. I love crossover events, man. To see two different worlds collide, I love it. I think we're more likely going to get an NXT and TNA one, though. Matt Hardy versus Bray at the Hardy House was one of the best cinematic matches. Underrated, Sammy. I think it was an underrated one. Not a lot of people talk about that, but I do appreciate that. I don't know what it was called because the final deletion was in TNA, but underrated. DX. DX over Brothers of Destruction. Don't you still find it weird how Ultimate Warrior came to Raw and gave that speech? Yeah, dude. I remember watching that. The Ultimate Warrior was in the Hall of Fame in 2014, WrestleMania 30, and then the Raw after. He comes out, has a speech, talking about his legacy, talking about how the Warrior will forever live on, and then it's announced hours later, the next morning, he passed away, and it's very eerie because people say like he basically gave his own eulogy. Sanford, I remember watching the speech with you. It's crazy to think. I get chills about it right now. I remember where I was when I found out. I was in the morning, eating breakfast, getting ready to go to school because what was I? I was a freshman at that point. No, actually, yeah, I believe I was a junior. I was in high school, but and reading on my phone because I would have Bleach Report and I'm reading the news, whatever. And Ultimate Warrior passes away, and I'm like, we just saw him on TV. How is that possible? We just saw him. And I'm thinking it's fake. I'm thinking no. I'm thinking there's no way. You do more research, you keep looking it up, and sure enough, it was real. Jose still monitor what his parents are watching. That's funny you say that, guys, because I actually do sometimes. I joke with them, like, hey, we're gonna watch a movie, and I'll tell them like, hey, before I play this movie, it's rated R. There's a little language. There's a little, might be a little nudity in this movie. So I'm a little bit of the monitor here in this household. So it's funny you say that. I will tell them. I'm like, yeah. Or sometimes like, we'll talk to my mom about a movie, and I'll be like, I don't think this movie's for you. Well, why not? Well, they curse a lot in this. It might not be suitable for you. Or when my brother talks to me, he's like, oh, we should show her this match. And he talks about New Jack, and he's talking about all the blood, and I'm like, I don't know if she's ready for that. I don't know. I don't know about that. So it's funny. For the longest, you would think the parent would be having the parental guidance in terms of what we're watching. Somewhere along the lines, it kind of flipped, and I became the monitor of the ratings there. I really wanted to watch ECW because of RVD, Ray, and Eddie. Solid trio, but they're goats. The blood looked cooler. Yeah, it's very interesting to see that. In pro wrestling, when you see like the blood, something about it. It's in our human nature. We love seeing a fight. Is Triple H close with Batista or Shawn Michaels or Randy or Flair more? I'm gonna think Shawn. One, because they work together more and they traveled the road together more. He was a mentor to Randy and Batista, and Flair was his mentor. I'm gonna think Shawn because they're peers. They're like brothers. I would think, based off of the documentaries that I've seen. I don't know them personally. Would love to, but I don't. I would think Shawn, and I think because they interact with each other more. Because, like I said, they work together right now. So I would think Shawn. What would be my most improved wrestler of the decade? Ooh, good question, Kevin. If we're talking are we talking 2020s? If we're talking 2020s, I definitely think Jey Uso certainly is up there. Aside from him, It's tough. I think it'd have to be Jay, right? Because you can make the argument of the last 10 years, Seth, Cody, Roman, those guys have certainly improved. But I mean, for Jay to rise to the level of stardom that he has is impressive as it is. Off the top of my head, I might have to say Jay. Give me more time on that. I might be able to come up with someone else, but maybe Jay. Or who else, you know? Because I'm thinking both. I'm thinking AEW and WWE. Same as I remember watching that speech, yeah. Do tell I didn't know that about Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior. Oh, wow, on your birthday. Yeah, so that's one way to remember it. Rated R, yeah. Yeah, no, so the Ultimate Warrior, who had a tumultuous relationship with Vince McMahon because of contract disputes, he wanted to get paid more money than what he was already. In the 90s, he would leave, come back, leave, and essentially kind of burnt the bridge. To the point where in 2004, the WWE releases The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD, a documentary chronicling the career and life of Ultimate Warrior. But if you go back and watch it, it's basically a hit piece. Everybody is trashing the Ultimate Warrior, claiming it's difficult to work with, asked for more money, believed his hype too much, legally changed his name to Warrior at one point, and people didn't think he would ever come back. So when it was in 2014 that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, it came as a shock. We talked about never say never. It came as a shock. And he has this Hall of Fame speech, a good Hall of Fame speech, very gracious, very appreciative. Loved it. And on the Monday Night Raw following in 2014, he provides this speech, like again, inspirational, like a goodbye to the fans, because we don't know if we're gonna see him again. He's not gonna wrestle, but you know, like a goodbye for now type of a speech. And that's why I said it's like his eulogy. It's weird. They say you know when you're gonna go, so who knows? I remember watching Warrior versus Hogan. One of the first. I know Hogan and Andre was a big one, but Warrior versus Hogan I think is one of those first like super big matchups. I think you can make the argument for Andre and Hogan for sure, Savage and Hogan as well. But Warrior versus Hogan was the first like face versus face main event of WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, big one. Love it. Does Ultimate Warrior have a juicy story? Maybe you should talk about him. Gabs, I have put him on the poll a couple of times, and like deep down, I wanted him to win because the Warrior does have an interesting story, and I might just forego the poll and just talk about him for next week's because he does have an interesting story to talk about. I've placed him on the poll a couple of times because I kind of want him to win, but he never did, and that's fine. We pride ourselves in giving you guys that opportunity to choose, but maybe that's on me for not giving a more effective, a more enticing description on those polls. So I might just not do the poll this week, and we'll just talk about Warrior next week because it is an interesting one. It is an interesting one. And fun fact, the Ultimate Warrior is my dad's favorite pro wrestler growing up. He was a big fan of the Ultimate Warrior. Never liked Hogan. Not in this household. He's a warrior guy. Me, I'm a Piper guy or a Savage guy. But yeah. I noticed Warrior and Batista did ring thing. Oh, like the shake the ropes. Yeah, I'm sure he had some kind of inspiration for Warrior. Maybe because we didn't get to see him wrestle. That's a good point as well. I mean, it was way before a lot of our times. You know, I mean, I'm curious to see like where people kind of grew up watching pro wrestling. Like I know, for example, Gabs, you said that you grew up with brothers, and like you said I think earlier that not being able to watch wrestling. So it's like I'm curious to see like where that was at, who was big at that time. Just like with anybody, I mean, Cooking with Cena talks about how they remember watching Hogan versus Warrior. So it's nice to see the different experiences, different perspectives of where we all became familiar with the business, became familiar with the product. Me and my dad love Ultimate Warrior. Hey, I will say in previous streams and episodes, I have said I'm not the biggest Warrior fan, but that's more of his style, the ring work. I'm a Savage Piper kind of guy, but that's not to say the Ultimate Warrior isn't one of the best. Had the look, the promos were out there, but was definitely a star in his own right. All wrestlers hated working with Warrior, and that's again going back to the documentary, the self destruction of Ultimate Warrior. Everyone trashed him because he was difficult to work with. So you saying that, Eric, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that people hated working with him. He seemed in a different headspace than a lot of people. I was 3 when Eddie passed. Didn't get to see him wrestle either. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, and it's interesting you say that because my brother was, we would have been 4 when it happened. So he tells me that his memories really go off of like the DVDs and the reruns, not really remembering live. And like my sister was maybe 8 months. So again, never really watched him live. And for me, it's like I got the last 2 years. I always say I started watching in 2000, but the memory was retained in 03. So I got like the last 2 years of seeing Eddie, and I can't imagine. It's weird hearing people like, "Oh, I never got to see him wrestle," and it's crazy. Nobody talks about how the Hardys and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian were in the Attitude Era. It's crazy to think that those guys came in together, and all of them, with the exception of like Devon, are still active. I know Bubba isn't really as active. He pops in every now and then and has a match, but it's like 5 out of the 6 have wrestled this year, or within the last year, I should say. And it's crazy to think that all 3 of them came in at the same time because widely regarded as some of the greatest tag teams of this generation of all time, I would like to think. Edge and Christian, one of the best ever. The Hardys, I think are the best ever. Well, they're my favorite. I think the Dudleys have a seriously contention for being the greatest of all time. Guesses I just watched the ladder match. Hey, we did too. The other day, we watched their ladder match at WrestleMania 2000, the triangle ladder match. They're awesome. Great matches. There was a time where the world class wrestling was bigger than WWF. Yeah, Texas. The Von Erichs. Good shout out there with the Von Erichs. WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. But who would have thought that the WWF would blow up into what it is now? The best match of his career was Savage's career ending matchup with Elizabeth and him. Brian, big shout out to Brian. Because I think, again, that's one of the best WrestleMania matches. Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, retirement matchup, WrestleMania 7, has everything you want. Storytelling, emotion, action. It's his best matchup. 100% agree with you, Brian. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And it's like you get to see the Ultimate Warrior with one of the best in Randy Savage. Has a good showing, has a great match. But then you include the drama of Miss Elizabeth and Randy Savage reuniting, and tears were shed that night. Randy gets to go off into the sunset. He lost the matchup, but he wins the night by reuniting with his love. Can't write it any better than that. Thank you, Brian, for that. That was great. Underrated pick, JBL. The funny thing about JBL is in pro wrestling, we all know it's scripted. It's pre-orchestrated. I hate using the F word. Some people in the chat like to throw that up, but they're just trying to get under our skin. We're not gonna let that. We're not gonna let that happen. I always knew that wrestling was, predetermined, scripted. So I knew when there was a bad guy, he's trying to be a bad guy. But JBL was so good at his job. As an adult now, I can look back and appreciate. But as a kid, I hated JBL. This guy was like the devil in our house because he was beating up our favorites. Eddie Guerrero, Latino legend. Rey Mysterio, Latino legend. And then John Cena, he's invited to the carne asada. But again, these are the three guys that I was a huge fan of. He feuded with The Undertaker. That's San Fran's favorite. And JBL was the worst. Hated him. Booed him. I almost lost my voice at Judgment Day 2006 when JBL challenged Rey Mysterio for the world title. But it's because he was so good. It's a testament to his performance. And I look at him now and I listen to his podcast now and I'm like, yeah, this guy's good. He gets it. Shout out to JBL. Eric says, saw the Dudleys fighting the crowd live in ECW because some guy spit on one of the Dudleys. ECW was a wild time. There was another time. Um, I don't think it was Heat Wave. I don't think it was Heat Wave. No, I think it was Heat Wave, where one of the fans got in Bubba Ray's face and it was like an altercation. They had him thrown out and they almost had a riot. The Dudleys were leading riots. There was another time I think that Rick Rude had passed away and they were talking about him and someone in the crowd booed or something and Paul Heyman and Bubba ripped him a new one and Paul Heyman just got, some cash and threw it at the fan. And because he was being so disrespectful at the passing of Rick Rude, he threw the cash at the fan and says, leave. Like, here's your money back. Get out. ECW held nothing back, man. Dominic, if he wants to hit another level, needs to hit the gym like Gunther did. Imagine a shredded Dom. It sucks to say, but in pro wrestling, it is a physical sport and it is about optics. You want to look like a star. Dominic is improving on the mic. He's improving in the ring. I do agree, though. He puts on a little bit more muscle. Oh, this guy's going to be great. I still think he's going to be a world champion, but I'd have to agree with you, Kevin. I think, maybe puts on a little bit more muscle. I'm not saying he has to be, Dave Batista, Bill Goldberg. Doesn't have to get shredded. But I'm with you. I think, hey, if he built up a little bit more muscle, even like Cody. Cody, when he started, a little bit on the thin side, was always in good shape. But then he got to the point where he developed more muscle mass. He didn't become a hulking giant, but that little bit of optics, it makes you look bigger, like a main star. Or maybe he can defy odds and just do it without it. Who knows? I'm not one to talk. I think he was better as Bradshaw with Ron Simmons as APA. Brian, I agree. I think the APA is one of the best tag teams of the Attitude Era. One of the more entertaining aspects of their gimmick was the whole APA room where they had the door, just the door frame. There was no wall, just the door frame. And have people go through it in and out. Love the APA. Love Ron Simmons. The first black WCW champion, by the way. Or maybe one of the first black world champions, if I'm not mistaken. Ron Simmons, one of the best. What are your thoughts on Stone Cold? He's the greatest superstar of all time. There are so many different qualifications and superlatives when it comes to pro wrestling. Who's the best in-ring talent? Who's the best on the microphone? What's the best character or gimmick? Who's the best bad guy? But in terms of like superstars and moving the needle in terms of ratings, merchandise sales, attendance sales, Stone Cold's the GOAT. Stone Cold's the GOAT. Has probably the greatest wrestling t-shirt of all time with Austin 316. Has so many memorable moments that you and I can recite off the top of our head. Stone Cold Steve Austin. One of the best. Definitely a top 5 wrestler, I think. Overall. Again, if we're not talking just specifically in-ring, if we're saying everything that makes a star, in-ring work, promo work, character work, and moving money, has to be the top 5. Could be the GOAT, but definitely top 5. Sabu was actually amazing. Sabu, the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, death-defying Sabu. I mean, again, another one of those guys in ECW that got my attention. Love the look. Love the moveset. I mean, this guy checked all the boxes for a young Jose. I mean, I was a fan of Sabu. Got to see some of his older stuff because of DVDs and the network. So when he was able to jump ship to the WWE in 2006, and we saw him have these matches, it was awesome. Obviously wasn't the same because this is 10 years removed from like his prime, let's be honest, but still a marvel to watch. Sandman was my favorite in ECW. I'm jealous, Brian, because I didn't get to see Sandman in his at his peak. You know, by the time he got to the WWE, he wasn't the Sandman anymore. I never got to hear Enter the Sandman live with him in attendance. It was always those generic theme songs or the dubbed version of the theme song. To have seen Sandman live as a fan, not only just in person but live on TV, would have been something else. But I didn't get to see that. It's five time ECW champ. Eric says I saw him literally run around the top rope, three sides of the ring. I don't doubt it, man. Sabu was a wild man. I don't doubt it at all. Imagine Rikishi, Rock, and Cena in one match. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I've seen The Rock and Cena go at it, enough. And Rikishi, I mean, I don't know. There's something for everybody, but for me, maybe not. Brian agrees. Yeah, no, Sandman, I don't think gets enough due. Definitely one of the faces of ECW. But by the time he got to the WWE in the 2000s, it wasn't the same. It wasn't. It was a nostalgia act. But the Enter the Sandman entrance is one of the best. Hearing the crowd again, this is going off of like YouTube clips because everyone else is um like blocked off because of copyright. But hearing the fans sing along, Enter the Sandman by Metallica, seeing him come out through the crowd with a beer in his hand and the kendo stick or the Singapore cane as it was known with him, mesmerizing, one of the coolest atmospheres. And that's why I always go back to pro wrestling is like a rock concert. It has that rock and roll vibe to it, at least when it comes to that type of an entrance. Pro wrestling can have so many different avenues to take. It can be a rock concert, it can be a sporting event, it can be a soap opera. It has so many different outlets for people to look towards to. My top five superstars of all time. I mean, Shawn Michaels at number one. Number two, CM Punk. Number three, Eddie Guerrero. Number four, The Rock. And at number five, The Undertaker. That's my personal list. Those are my five all time. Honorable mention definitely goes to guys like Ray and Bret Hart and Roddy Piper. They just missed the cut. But I picked The Undertaker because I was fortunate enough to grow up in an age where he was having his best matches against Randy, against Batista, Edge, Shawn, Kurt Angle, Triple H, CM Punk. A fantastic time to be an Undertaker fan. And I love the spooky gimmick. I love the dead man stuff, so you already know. At number four, The Rock. He's the guy that got me into pro wrestling. He's the guy, the charisma, the mic skills, the in ring skills. He got me into wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, all around just a great performer on the mic, in the ring, character. Also biased because Hispanic representation. Love it. It was funny. He can make you laugh. He can make you cry, cheer, boo. CM Punk was my guy as a teenager, growing up as a teenager. You get that little bit of a rebellious phase, of course, and seeing CM Punk and his promo style, and he always resonated for me as like that outsider. Had the tattoos, had like this grunge kind of a feel to him, the long hair, um, everything about him was just cool. And the biggest thing for me too is that the whole straight edge stuff. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do drugs. Spoke volumes to me because I've always maintained that same mentality. And so to see someone like that on the screen represent that, I was like, this is my guy. So he's number two. And then Sean, talked about it already. He's the GOAT. Best matches, best character work. I mean, I don't feel like I have to explain that one. Brian says Stone Cold, Sean, Brett, Taker, DDP. That's a great list. I mean, you can't go wrong. That's a shout out to DDP though. Love the acknowledgement of Diamond Dallas. Doesn't get his due. The people's champion of WCW. Love it. Taker's great. Brett just missed my cut. Definitely would be there though. Sean and Stone Cold. Can't argue. But I love the DDP inclusion. Has one of my favorite finishes of all time, the Diamond Cutter. Him and like the RKO, awesome finishes. But that Diamond Cutter is fire. Love using DDP in 2K. Speaking of 2K, we are gonna have a special video come out tomorrow. No, Saturday. It's coming out Saturday. My mistake. Where I'm gonna have a dream match. It's not a live stream. It's just a video, something different that we're trying something new here. We previously did the live streams with 2K, but we've had issues when it comes to the feed. You know, whether it's the microphone or it being kind of delayed. So we're gonna give that a moment to hopefully work out. And instead on Saturday, I'm uploading a video of a dream match. So hopefully you guys will check that out. I won't reveal too much. Underrated pick, Truth and Booker T. Love our Truth. I don't know if I put him on there, but I love our Truth. Booker T's a great pick. In my opinion, I think Booker T is one of the greatest, wrestlers of all time. And then if you want to add the qualifier, I think he's one of the best black wrestlers of all time too. And I mean, like, it doesn't have to just be limited to that. But I look at it like Eddie Guerrero. For me, Eddie Guerrero is one of the greatest Mexican Hispanic pro wrestlers. Bret Hart, the best Canadian pro wrestlers. I think Booker T certainly is one of the greatest of all time. A 6-time world champion, a U.S. champion, intercontinental champion, King of the Ring tag team winner as well. He's done it all. It's super entertaining. And what I love about Booker T is what I like about Eddie Guerrero and like Kurt Angle, where it's like they weren't afraid to make people laugh. They weren't always serious. They had these comedic chops that resonated with people and was entertaining. And I love the shout out for Booker T there. Special mention to Punk and Randy Savage. Great picks. The Macho Man, CM Punk. You're not going to get any argument from here, Brian. I love those picks. Solid pick. I mean, dude, we're talking about Austin, Shawn, Brett Taker, DDP, Punk and Randy Savage rounding out your 7. That's a strong 7, if I might add. Very good list. Anybody else in the chat? Hey, man, feel free to throw in your top 5 of all time. No judgment here. Everybody has their top 5 because of personal preference and because they resonate with you. So I don't feel like there is a need to be like, oh, this guy's top 5 is worse than this guy's. No. We don't do that. We don't do that here. It's all subjective. And I talk about my favorites. I'd love to hear your guys' favorites. Who are some people that you looked up to as a fan? Who are people you look up to now as fans? Mark Henry. Mark Henry's a good one. That's a good point, Brian. But I just think in totality, Booker T had a better run in his whole career. Mark Henry was entertaining, yes, but his best stuff came in, like 15 years in? The Hall of Pain? Had longevity, had a good career. But if you put it up against Booker T's, I mean, Booker T had a better career. No disrespect to Mark. He's great as well. The world's strongest man. One of the best theme songs ever. But love the shout out for Mark Henry. Hollywood Hogan, as NWO Hollywood Hogan, yes. I prefer Hollywood Hogan over the red and yellow Hogan. I was never a fan of Hulk Hogan, but the NWO one was cool. I'll give him that. It was entertaining. I love to boo him. Owen Hart, underrated pick, man. Not a lot of people are going to talk about Owen Hart because they haven't seen him wrestle. I'm not going to pretend like I saw him wrestle live, but through the archives, through the old matches, his matchups with the 1-2-3 Kid, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, just to name a couple. Owen Hart, yeah. It's just a sad story because of the potential that could have been achieved with Owen Hart, and unfortunately we're not going to get to see that or celebrate it because Dr. Martha Hart, his wife, doesn't feel it appropriate to include him in the WWE Hall of Fame because maybe she feels a level of resentment for the way things ended for Owen Hart, and that's fine. That's her right as his wife. That's her right. Who are we to judge that? I think it's a shame because he should be celebrated, but ultimately we should respect her wishes. And Owen Hart for sure, one of the best of all time. It's sad what could have been. Sammy right on says Jeff Hardy, awesome. Edge, awesome. Ray, absolutely. Sami Zayn, Mick Foley. And I love the versatility of this list here. A high flyer in Rey Mysterio, a great worker in Sami Zayn, Edge, and Jeff Hardy. dude, I don't even have to say it. And Mick Foley. Love when Mick Foley gets some love, underrated as well. Was not known for his wrestling prowess, but his love for the business and his dedication to the fans and giving them a hell of a show warrants it. Love the Mick Foley shout out there, Sammy. Awesome list. Just like the show, WWF used him as a gimmick. I was talking about Owen Hart. I never liked the blue blazer gimmick. I hate that they had him do that towards the end of his career. I thought that was stupid. But ultimately, I think you can make the argument. I think Owen was the best in ring wrestler ever. High praise from Brian. But it's hard to argue that. Just what was the phrase I'm looking here for? If you were to look at it from just like the foundation of pro wrestling, he really had all the tools. That's what I was looking for. He had all the tools as to what it would be a great pro wrestler. Mark, oh yeah, I got you. The Mark Henry stuff, yeah, because he was like sexual chocolate. He was, paired up with Mae Young, the Nation of Domination as a young Mark Henry. So we never got to see his real best stuff until the Hall of Pain. So yeah, I agree with your assessment there, Brian. Scott Hall's underrated. Scott Hall, yes. His demons that he had to fight towards the end, difficult. But his Razor stuff, even as a member of the Outsiders, was awesome too. Great shout out. Did you know wrestling has more than one royal family? Damn right. Damn right. One of the best theme songs there is right now. Shout out to Tito Santana. What do you guys know about El Matador, Tito Santana? One half of Strike Force. Eric with a deep call back there. A solid worker. I think for people who aren't familiar with Tito Santana, I'd put him in the same level as like a Dolph Ziggler, where Dolph Ziggler always could give you a solid matchup. It doesn't matter at what point of the card he was at, it definitely top to bottom could have a match with any member of the roster. Former Intercontinental Champion, Tito Santana, man. Great call out. Mankind was underrated. Oh my god, don't even get me started with Mankind. My favorite. He was my favorite version of Mick Foley. Don't know why I drew a blank. Liked Cactus Jack and Dude Love, but Mankind, man. That early Mankind, the demented soul of Mankind, seeing him rock back and forth, petting, George the Rat. Awesome. Had a hell of a wrestling mind. I'm thinking Scott Hall. I think Brian's mentioning Scott Hall for Wrestling Mind. Scott Hall, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that inspired the Crow Sting. There's a story out there that says that he kind of gave him the idea of like be the Crow. Scott Hall, man, great wrestling mind. Yeah, Brian. Yeah, okay, so I was right. Scott Hall. Him and Pedro Morales. Pedro Morales, one of the WWE champions, early WWE champions. Two legends in the Hispanic community as well. The Can-Am connection. You don't hear that one a lot. Brian with the deep cuts as well. I love that we're getting so much diversity in terms of fans, whether it's people who grew up in the 2000s, people who grew up in the 90s, or people who just have knowledge of like anything before the 90s, like in the 80s. I mean, we talked about the Von Erichs earlier as well. I saw that we have a stream, a live stream about the Von Erichs. It was one of our first live streams that we discussed a dark side topic as well. Eric says the Road Warriors, one of the greatest tag teams. I think safe to say, a top 5 tag team of all time. There's a reason why the phrase Warrior Pop, the Road Warrior Pop, because whenever those guys hit the ring, the crowd went ballistic. Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, whatever you want to call them, had the distinct look, had the distinct in-ring capabilities. Awesome. Love their entrance at SummerSlam 92. What about Seth Rollins? I'm a big fan of Seth Rollins. I think he's one of the best on the roster right now. Again, another guy can have a solid matchup with anybody. I love it when he gets serious and he gets angry. That passionate Seth Rollins who just wants to light the world on fire is great. Having great matches along the likes of Roman Reigns, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk most recently, has the best cash in for Money in the Bank back in 2015. Love it, man. Love it. Great. He's going to go down as one of the best of his generation. He's won every championship, if I'm not mistaken. Universal, WWE, US, Intercontinental, Tag Team, Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, main event WrestleMania last year. I think history will look back fondly upon a guy like Seth Rollins, especially in this generation, this era, the Renaissance era. I really hope that name sticks because I think it's sick. The Renaissance era. Scott also basically was the mind behind the NWO and getting Bischoff to go with it. Again, a smart guy when it comes to the business, and that's why I love the Click, because everyone had something to contribute. Shawn Michaels, the best in-ring performer. Triple H was a student of the game, loved the history, and moving forward the business. Kevin Nash, new business. Say what you want about Kevin Nash, but he knew about money, right? I give him that. Scott Hall, great mind for the business, as you mentioned, Brian. And then you have X-Pac as well, who really tied the group together, who was just, to me, he was like that little brother who kind of took up a little bit of everything from everybody and could go in the ring as well. Everyone having distinct, characteristics and qualities that they could add, that they could provide to the business. It's an unofficial faction, but it might be my favorite just because everyone had something to offer and everyone laid an imprint on the business. NWO and DX come directly from the Click, the known Too Sweet sign that is associated with the NWO and DX and the Bullet Club and the Balor Club and all these other clubs comes from the Click. Cooking with Cena says Big Show is a star that I love. Big Show I think doesn't get enough love. I think he's one of those guys who he was a company man. Like he did what needed to be done and did it right. He was a good guy, putting over the talent and got his due. Won the world championship and the WWE title a couple of times. He might be the only guy, if I'm not mistaken, to have won the ECW, the WCW, the World Heavyweight, and the WWE Championship. But maybe there's one other guy, but I think Big Show might be the only guy to win all four. And he's just great. Another guy who's not afraid to make fun of himself and laugh. Awesome. We love Big Show. He's gonna go in the Hall of Fame whenever that happens. Whenever that time comes, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. Brian says I've been watching since the '80s. So you go back, my friend. You're basically a historian, And I love it. I love getting all these different perspectives on it. Because wrestling is not just a linear fan base. It comes and goes in different demographics, different backgrounds, different shapes, different sizes, different colors. Love it. Appreciate your input, Brian. Thank you so much. Same thing with Cooking with Cena and Sammy and Eric, San Fran, Gabs, everybody in the chat here. I can't get to you all, but just know, hey, you participated in today's stream, Kevin as well. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for always making these things as fun as as they are. Love the streams. When I first made this channel, I was so focused on like the video aspect and trying to get good content out there, which still trying. I didn't realize how fun the live streams would be. And I wish I would have done them a lot earlier. My dad was the one who always pushed for, says, you got to go live. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I don't have enough people following, but it certainly has made for a great opportunity to open it up to other pro wrestling fans and continuing to grow. RVD, I think, did it too. Well, RVD, he never won the world title or the WCW title. So he did win the ECW WWE title, though. But Big Show held all four. The world title, ECW, WCW, and the WWE. Johnny Mantelli was one of the most technically sound wrestlers, and that's my favorite type of wrestling. The technical aspect of it. People like the high flyers. People love the brawlers. The giants even. Me, I've always liked the technical wrestlers. There's something about that where you're able to incorporate different, styles. And I feel like that's what it is. Technical is you can incorporate a lot. There's submission holds. There's love Chris J. I used to love Tommy Rich. Eric bringing out the deep cuts. Not a lot of people talk about Tommy Rich. I thought he won it after WCW was bought. No, he did not. He competed for it a lot. He did have a lot of opportunities, but I know when WCW was bought, it was Booker T who lost it to The Rock, who lost it to Jericho, and then, you know, The Rock would get it back. I think Kurt Angle might have held it somewhere in there as well, and then Chris Jericho ended up unifying it, but RVD didn't hold it. I don't blame you because RVD did he challenged it. He challenged for it a lot. Should Y2J retire? The chants are there. Who am I to tell someone to call it a career? If he still loves it, I guess, go for it. But I do think it's another one of those cases where it's like the longer you go, the more it hurts your legacy. And for people to be cheering, please retire, that's rough, man. That's rough. I think he's well due. I think he's well due. He needs to retire. I don't want him to, tarnish his legacy anymore, like than it could already be. Because I grew up a fan of Jericho. I'm still a fan of Jericho. But there are some times where I'm like, dude, you gotta call it. Brian says he should finish in WWE. I don't think he has to. I do think he should go in the Hall of Fame for sure. I don't think he has to finish in WWE though. Eric says, "Who remembers Raven? What about Raven? Oh man, you want to talk about underrated? Raven had a great wrestling mind and a good career that not a lot of people are going to talk about. His feud in ECW against Tommy Dreamer, stuff of a legend. His stuff in TNA, CM Punk. I mean, like, dude, Raven, former champion in TNA and in ECW, doesn't get his due, man. Manny Boy from San Quentin, what's going on? Joey, what's up? Um, yeah, no, Raven's one of those guys. Doesn't get his due. Probably will never get his due either, but he should. Chilling. Right on, my guy. Right on. Appreciate you joining the stream. Why you in my pick? His stuff in WCW was awesome. Oh yeah, that's right. Sometimes I forget he was in WCW as well, Brian. Sometimes I forget that too, but he was in there for a stint. The Flock, was it not? But I mean Raven. Doesn't get talked. His WWE run you know, after the Alliance, basically nothing. Stone Cold and Bret is my favorite match. It's a great matchup. Great choice. Top 5 feuds. Ooh. Top 5 feuds. That's a good one. Yeah, the Flock. Okay, so I was right. That's tough. So, again, I'm going to go bias. This is mine, of course. Eddie versus Ray. That's one. And this is in no particular order because I'd have to rearrange them. Eddie versus Ray. I love Austin versus McMahon. I know it's not technically a match feud, but I love that feud because it had so many moments. So there's two. I'm a big fan of the. I don't know if I want to incorporate it though. Should I include it? Because there's stuff from nowadays that I'm thinking of. I don't want to include them because they're so recent. So Austin McMahon, Eddie versus Ray. I'm gonna lump. Does this count Taker versus DX? Because that 4-year WrestleMania stretch, I look at it as one storyline. So if I can have a little bit of a caveat there, I'm gonna put Taker and DX from 09 to 2012. The other two, Undertaker versus Kane, their matches may not have been the best, but the feud for me was entertaining. That's the stuff I love. And in the 5th and final spot, let's go something more modern. Something more modern. I'm gonna go Punk MJF. That for me, and that list is fluid. It may change, but the Eddie versus Ray, Austin versus McMahon, and DX versus Taker, that's not going to change. Those three will always stay there. Hardy versus Edge is a really good one. I thought about Cena versus Edge because I really was a fan of that. Taker versus Mankind is a great one. Eric, another great one. There's just so many, right? So many feuds to choose from. It's tough. You put me on the spot. Those are the ones that come to my mind, but there's a ridiculous amount. Flair versus Steamboat. I recently just watched their matchup, the Chi Town Rumble. Steamboat versus Flair. Love that matchup. It's my favorite one of the two. Um, where Steamboat gets the victory over Ric Flair, wins the world championship. A great matchup. I think it's my favorite of Steamboats. Maybe of Flair's too. Andre the Giant versus Hogan was crazy. It's what put WWE on the map. I mean, WrestleMania 3 was built on that matchup, so that's awesome. Savage and Roberts, love it. Going the more psychological route, I like it. And I mean the spot with the snake. Excuse me. The spot with the snake is iconic. I love the story of how Macho Man was very like paranoid about the snake and was saying like, "Has the snake been fixed?" And Robert's saying like, "Yeah, he's been venomized. Like, there's no venom." And he's like, "Well, what's to say you didn't fix that snake and he were to bite me and it was to poison me and then he's like, how about you have the snake bite you?" It's a terrible, terrible Randy Savage impersonation, but we're working on it. And he makes Jake have the snake bite him. And it's like, that's so paranoia, but I get it. I totally get it. And to see it on TV, seeing the snake bite Savage and the crowd reaction and them trying to get the snake off of him it's great TV. As crazy as it sounds, I love the chaos. I'm pretty sure you guys can agree with me. We love the chaotic aspect of pro wrestling, man. It makes for great television and memorable moments too. Jake and Andre. Oh, when Andre's running away from the snake, I remember that. A big fan of Andre, I see. Right on. Shout out to the eighth wonder of the world. Legendary performer, the first ever Hall of Famer. But yeah, I remember him running away from the snake, terrified of that thing. And ironically enough, Jake Roberts is actually afraid of snakes as well. How crazy is it that he made a career as Jake the Snake Roberts? The Rock mimicking the wrestlers was always fun. Oh, The Rock. I mean, again, that's why I got into wrestling. The Rock, his promo style, and the way he would make fun of the other wrestlers. And obviously, there's that promo leading into the Armageddon Hell in a Cell in December of 2000 where he, one by one, systematically mocks every member of that matchup. Kurt Angle, Rikishi, The Undertaker, Austin, Triple H. The Rock's always been a good time. Recently, he's kind of been under fire because of his promo styles and dragging on too long and really saying nothing and these word salads. But I mean, you still can't deny The Rock's one of the all-time greats on the mic. Curious to see when's the next time we're gonna see the final boss. We haven't seen him since the Elimination Chamber. Rock and NWO again, a great moment at No Way Out 2002 when the NWO made their debut in the WWE. A lot of acronyms that I just said in the last 30 seconds. And The Rock takes a picture for Hulk Hogan and for his son. And oh, it's a great promo. The Rock mocking the Big Show. Did that happen? Oh, yeah. I believe that was in 99, if I'm not mistaken. Calling him the Big Slow. Yeah, Sammy beat me to it. The Big Slow. He beat me right to it. Oh my God, Kevin Sullivan versus Benoit. Yeah, the real heat between those two. As for you guys that don't know, and this is probably something we can discuss on a Chris Benoit stream, but Kevin Sullivan, who was married to Nancy Sullivan, better known as Woman on TV, had booked Benoit and Nancy to get together on TV And so they had to keep kayfabe alive, and they were traveling together. And over time, they developed feelings. And it's discussed amongst the boys that Kevin Sullivan basically booked his divorce, and Nancy went to Benoit, moved on. And there was a pay-per-view event. I don't remember if it might have been Great American Bash or Bash at the Beach, one of those, where these guys were delivering haymakers. They were actually fighting like on TV. I gotta go back and look it up. It might have been Great American Bash or something like that, but my God, it's crazy to think he kind of booked his own divorce. Isn't that crazy? Brock was a savage in the 2000s. Yeah, in the 2000s, Brock Lesnar, man. I mean, 2002 to 2004, his time on the main roster. In 2000, he was in OVW, but just a prospect. So much potential when it came to Brock Lesnar. He would do the shooting star press in OVW, tried it in WWE, and it didn't work out. But yeah, Brock was the next big thing. Say what you want about Brock and his style of pro wrestling, or even keeping your personal feelings about his life out of it. Brock is definitely one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling. Just from a monetary standpoint, the business, and you know, just the great moments we've seen with Brock Lesnar. Gotta give him his credit. Certainly gotta give him his credit. Shout out to everybody in the stream, by the way. My name is Jose Ramos Jr. If you're just joining us in this live stream on a Thursday, we're talking pro wrestling. We talked about the legendary WrestleMania 13 matchup between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart. We catched up on a little bit of wrestling news on NXT and AEW. If you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date with the J Area Wrestling Show that comes out every Monday, as well as the occasional live stream that we do 3 times out of the week. That's Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. We have live streams, giving an opportunity to all pro wrestling fans to join us in the discussion. And yeah, we'll go back to the stream here. Eric says he was a monster. Certainly was. Still is. Still is for sure. Still is for sure. I mean, one of my favorite, again, I'm biased. I'm a CM Punk guy, but I love his matchup at SummerSlam 2013 against Punk. That matchup between the two, for me, was like the embodiment of what the Hulk and Wolverine comic book was like. Love that feud in 2013. Brock versus AJ would be fire. That would be fire. In their primes, absolutely. Now, I'm sure now they could have a good match too. But in their primes, ooh, man. I'm buying that. Benoit is a tie for best technical wrestler with Bret Hart. Brian, I have to put him up there. For obvious reasons, people aren't going to talk about him. But Benoit, certainly one of the greatest of all time. In ring. It's just ironic that a guy who focused so much on his career, his legacy will not be recognized because of what he did in the last few days of his life. But I agree with you. He's certainly up there with Bret Hart. Just watched Steiner's return at the Survivor Series 2002. Man, his entrance hits. Oh, dude. You can ask San Fran. Big fan of Scott Steiner here. Both of us, San Fran and I, love Scott Steiner. He might be a bigger fan than I am, but still, big Papa Pump, man. Great entrance. Bill Goldberg was a savage too. Bill Goldberg was great. Bill Goldberg was great. Loved when he destroyed Super Cena. Oh yeah, 2014, the SummerSlam match between Brock and Cena. I didn't call it. I was watching that and I was like, damn, Cena's really getting it handed to him, isn't he? And he never really got offense in that match. And essentially, Brock squashes Cena, wins the title, and it really put him over, having defeated the streak at WrestleMania 30 and then defeats Super Cena at SummerSlam. Not a bad showing for Brock Lesnar. San Francisco, the best real feud will always be Matt Hardy and Edge, dude. And it's like, we talked about this on the stream where we grew up fans of SmackDown because we didn't have access to Monday Night Raw. One of the first feuds I saw when we got access to Monday Night Raw in 2005 was the Matt and Edge stuff. Mesmerizing. It really blurred the lines of reality and kayfabe, and a great call out there by San Fran. Do you remember when Santino almost won the Rumble? Of course, 2011. Alberto Del Rio got the win. Almost won the Chamber as well the following year. Santino, by far one of the best Him and R-Truth, I think, are the funniest wrestlers of all time, and will certainly go in the Hall of Fame. Do you think Matt Riddle is a bad person for cheating on his wife? Who am I to say, right? That's tough. I don't condone it. I don't believe in infidelity or cheating on your spouse or just your significant other. I'm not advocating for that. That's it's a bad thing to do. I don't know Matt Riddle. Don't know his personal business out there, but I can't condone what he did. Does it make him a bad person? I don't know if it makes him a bad person. I do think it was a terrible decision, and you definitely should not. I don't think anybody should condone it. It's tough, but it's his personal life. Who am I to judge him, right? But I will say, not a fan of what he did. Who's hosting WrestleMania 41 this year? They haven't announced a host. I don't know if we are going to get a host this year, but usually we do. I know The Miz did it in 39. Um, Bailey did one in 37, was it? Or something? I don't know. I think Alexa Bliss hosted one as well at one point. Hogan hosted a couple. Rock hosted one. They haven't announced one, but we'll see. I don't think it needs a host, but if it does, we'll see. Alexa Bliss. Yeah, Alexa Bliss did host one. I think she hosted one before, and she definitely could host this one because they're not doing anything with her. Crazy how Austin won 3 Rumbles. He's, one of the best of all time to compete in a Rumble. 3 Rumble victories that span from 97, 98, and 2001. He participated in 6 Royal Rumbles, eliminating a total of 36 individuals for an average of 6 per Rumble. He's one of the best. Arguably could have won 4. 1999, McMahon eliminated Austin to win. I know who should host it. Who? Shout out to Becky Lynch. Where did she emerge from? Was she in NXT? Yeah, she was in NXT. She, I believe, was in the same promotion or school as Finn Balor. They go way back. She was in NXT in the early years, from like 2013 to 2015, and got called up in 2015, and it's never looked back. Yeah, Becky Lynch, awesome. I didn't like his character when he did the Matt Hardy version. You didn't like, really? You didn't like the Matt Hardy version 1? I loved it. I thought that was great with the little factoids off to the side and had the V1 and the MFers, the map followers. I was a fan of it. Lillian Garcia, Corey Graves, or Becky Lynch. I think Corey Graves is probably going to be on commentary for Stand and Deliver. Probably will be in the pre-show of some sort. Becky Lynch isn't a bad choice, but I do not see her coming back for that. I think if she comes back, it's going to be a big return, setting in motion for her next feud. Don't know if they're going to have her back just to host it. It's probably going to go to someone, like a Big E or, let's see, someone like that. I don't see it being like that. And I love Alexa Bliss. She's awesome. Does good old Stone Cold still have enough in the tank for one more match? I honestly think maybe. If it's like a Kevin Owens matchup where it's a brawl, probably. Um, don't see it happening though. Dexter, Breaking Bad, Midnight Express. Hold on. Midnight Express, Stan Lane, and damn, Midnight Express. Wow, we're going back. Eric's a historian, man. Triple H has the biggest opportunity to have RVD to host. Facts, because it's going to be 420. Oh, it's not going to happen. But yeah, that'd be awesome to have him host. That'd be crazy. Lakers Cena, yeah, back in 2009 when the whole Denver Nugget and Laker series went up. He can't mess it up. He really can't. That's how Matt Hardy got an idea on Broken and Woken gimmick. Fan of Team Extreme, but thought the version 1 was kind of gimmicked. I think that was the point, Brian. I think that was really what they were going for, honestly. I was a fan of it, but then again, I was a kid, so maybe that changes the perspective, I should say. RVD hosting, oh yeah, it would be too good. I love it. What were Triple H's best years? And Nash? His best years, I think, ironically, were probably the Reign of Terror, 2000 to like 2005 ish. People refer to that as the Reign of Terror, but I think that was his best years in terms of his character. And ring work was good. He had a hit and misses with the matches because with Booker T, Kevin Nash, those were really good. His best though, if you had to pinpoint it, probably like 99 to 2002. If you had to twist my arm, I would say that. Jose versus Kane, absolutely not Nolan. He would burn me alive, and now he would probably find some legislation against me because he's the mayor of Knox County. I would not last against Kane. Shawn Michaels or Shawn Michaels. Oh, Shawn Michaels on the zip line. I just said Shawn Michaels or Shawn Michaels on the zip line. WrestleMania 12, a great entrance. Anaheim, California, Arrowhead Pond, 96, as he began to face off against Bret Hart in the Ironman matchup. Great entrance. Jeff Hardy said in Stone Cold's podcast that he was supposed to leave the WWE after WrestleMania 25, and they needed him for extra few months due to Undertaker being injured and all. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, because Taker was gone since. Yeah, well, actually, that's funny. Now you said that, I never put it together. But when Hardy left, Taker came. Taker was gone for the majority of the year because he returned at SummerSlam 2009. Yeah, wow. Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't answer the Kevin Nash part. Kevin Nash's best years, probably early WCW, not early WCW, but like his early NWO years, I would say. Was that when he came back from his tricep? It's about Triple H or the Undertaker. I think it was the Undertaker one. Was it his tricep? Diesel. Oh, his tricep or his quad? Because I think it was his tricep in the 90s. I was on the 90s. But I will confess, like, I'm not the biggest Diesel guy. Triple H. Oh, no. Triple H. No, because Triple H had tore his quad. He tore his quad. Because he came back in 2002. He tore his quad in 01. That's why I kind of connect him. Because his return in 02 was great. After that, it wasn't really the best. What's going on, Robert? Any signs of Karrion Kross? Love Karrion Kross. I love what they're doing with him. Consistently being like that little like devil on the shoulder of all these wrestlers. I thought he was gonna feud with Sami Zayn. I don't think he's gonna feud with AJ. Don't know what his plans are, but I like Karrion Kross and I hope there's something good for him. Who remembers Vader? Eric, come on. You guys don't know Vader. Ooh, I mean, you're missing out. Vader, one of the best big men to ever step foot in a WWE, or sorry, in a professional wrestling ring, not just the WWE. Vader bomb, a crazy moonsault as well. Big shout out there. Love it. I believe if the streak never ended, that could have been Undertaker's gimmick only showing up. Yeah, you're not wrong, Sammy. Very much could have just been showing up one. He was already doing it. He was already doing it. But yeah, it shouldn't have broken. I think it never should have ended. I love the streak, and I'm a firm believer he should have retired undefeated. There's the old adage that when you retire, you have to go on your back. You have to put over the next generation. I think if anybody could have the exception, it should have been Taker. But he's an old school guy, so he's gonna lose. Cena's best years. I think there's an argument for two. I think 2004 to 2007. I think those were his best years. Or if you want to argue, 2014 to 2017, because he was putting on some good matches between. So one of those. We're on Magic Mike. Oh, Diesel was on Magic Mike, wasn't he? AJ Lee would be a great host. Dude, I love AJ Lee, but I don't think she's gonna do it either. I don't think she's gonna do it either, but I would love it. Which wrestler do you think is struggling in the main roster and currently lost in the mix? I mean, Karrion Kross is one. We just talked about him. Karrion Kross for sure. I think is someone that kind of got lost in the shuffle there. Um, I'm trying to go down like the roster mentally, right? Andrade, Shinsuke. A lot of guys on SmackDown right now seem kind of lost. Because Andrade can go and Shinsuke can go, but those guys and Shinsuke just won the U.S. title. You know, he had a short reign there, but they didn't do anything with it. I think those like Andrade and Shinsuke are two guys that are kind of lost in the mix right now. Nash's best years on Magic Mike, terrible. Not as funny though. Repackage them. You know, how would you repackage them though? Because I don't know how you can repackage Andrade. Just turn him heel, I guess. And then for Shinsuke, they already repackaged him. They made him a darker version of who he already is. So I don't know. I don't know. Jim Neidhart. Shout out to Jim Neidhart, one half of the Hart Foundation, the power of the Hart Foundation, and of course his daughter being Natalia. It would lead to a story line at SummerSlam with Seth and Becky. That would be the ideal route, right? I mean, they already hinted, talking about his wife and both of their wives, really. Yeah, a mixed tag match is certainly a possibility. I would love to see that. Give them a manager or send them back to NXT. I could see Zelina getting back with Andrade as a manager. I could definitely see that. But I think they want to focus on Zelina as a single star. She's had interactions with Tiffany Stratton and most recently Chelsea Green for the title. So I could see them maybe waiting on it, but I do think that they could pair them up again. As for NXT, yeah, you could also send him to NXT. Shinsuke, I don't know. Maybe. But I do like where your head's at. I think NXT is a great opportunity to put on a fresh coat of paint on these superstars that are struggling in the mixed. Cena's best years as an actor, I think we're in the midst of them. I think it's right now. I love his stuff in Peacemaker. Um, also, Ricky Stenicki, Jackpot. I think we're in them. This stream has been so dope. I appreciate that, Sammy. It's been awesome, man. I love talking with you guys about pro wrestling and just anything. Reform a new group. That's one. Hey, make a faction maybe. That's not a bad idea. I don't know if those are the guys to do it with, but yeah, maybe make a group. Seth and Randy. Goats. Love Seth and Randy. With Shinsuke and Andrade. Maybe. I don't know if I pair them up right now. Obviously, they're babyface and heel. Maybe have them feud. Give them something to do on SmackDown. Dave Bautista. Same thing with Bautista. I think we're in the midst of his best stuff. If you haven't seen like Knock at the Cabin, that's a great movie. Has a bunch of other great films as well. On the top of my head, I can't think of them, but Drax, he was great as Drax. Shout out to Greg the Hammer Valentine, one of the U.S. champions of the past. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he won the IC title as well. Jericho, he's in AEW. Make a new Shield. I don't know about a new Shield. That's tough. And Brian, it's like, I don't know if you've seen NXT, but people are calling them the Timu Shield. We have this group of 4 individuals wreaking havoc on NXT. Oh, the best years for Jericho? You could say his best year was in 2008 when he first turned heel. I would say that. Roman and Jay would be a good duo. I mean, we've already seen it though. They've been together with the Bloodline. I don't think we're gonna see that yet. I don't think so. I like the legacy idea. I do like making a new legacy or even like a new evolution where you have the center point, a tag team, and then maybe a veteran as the manager. I do like that idea. Brutus Beefcake. I was never a Beefcake guy. Suicide Squad Peacemaker was the best character. I love the Suicide Squad movie. The second one was fantastic. I think John Cena Idris Elba, Margot Robbie. I think they all did great. Even liked King Shark. I thought that was super entertaining. But yeah, no, I think we're in the midst of some of his best work. Big Boss Man, Ray Taylor, Ray Taylor. Rest in peace, Hall of Famer. We recently saw his. It might not be the best moment to remember, but WrestleMania 15 we recently watched, where the Undertaker beat Big Boss Man, and he celebrated by having him hung. Not the best moment to talk about, but it was certainly a memorable one. The Miz's best years. Maybe the 2014 to 2018 type of run. He was really in the Intercontinental title scene. Renegade. Wow, that's crazy. WCW Renegade, their answer to Ultimate Warrior. That's funny you mentioned that San Fran the other day too. I was, we in my garage. I have my own little, I guess, personal gym. But when I'm in the gym, when I'm in my garage, I like to throw on wrestling on the TV. And I had a WCW live stream, and it was like some 95. I think it might have been uncensored 95. And Renegade was on the show with Hogan. Cena and Randy I Quit match. I remember that one. That was Breaking Point 2009. Solid matchup. I enjoyed that one. One of their best, I think. Brian says I'm talking NWA days before WWF. For what, Beefcake? I mean, even then, I just never was a Beefcake guy. Over the Limit 2010. What about it? I haven't seen Over the Limit 2010 in so long. Oh, did you think? Oh, that was Batista and Cena. Batista and Cena had the I Quit match at Over the Limit. John and Randy was at Breaking Point, 2009. I can feel a sneeze coming on, but I don't know if it's gonna hit. I guess not. Oh wait. Oh, I guess not. John Cena versus Batista, the I Quit match. That was cool. I like the way they had the finish where he's threatening to give him the AA through the ground, and he says I quit, and he still does it. And that was the last match he had before leaving. Lex Luger going in the Hall of Fame, well deserved. Former WCW champion, beat Hulk Hogan for the title, by the way. NWO Hogan. Love the story, the perseverance of what he's dealing with in terms of his physical disabilities, and it's very inspiring. Super happy for him to go in the Hall of Fame. Top 5 best heel turns. Hogan, for sure, turning heel. I think you got to give him his due. That's a great one. I'm going to put Cena up there. I just think that's one of the best, too. I think that's a great heel turn. Shawn Michaels is my next one with the barbershop where he turns on Marty Jannetty. I think that's top 3 as well. Other heel turns, I think Seth Rollins turning on the Shield, definitely a big one because of the ramifications that it carries. So immediately we're talking Hogan, Cena, Seth Rollins, and Shawn Michaels. The final heel turn that I would put on there. Ooh, okay. I gotta think about this one. Because I'm going off of a moment as well as like the ramifications that followed. I mean, it's tough. Because like honestly, you could say Austin in 01, but that one's not really fondly looked on. I think I might have to go with San Fran, and that's Triple H turning heel on Shawn. I think I'll go with that one. I'll take you on that one. Miz on the Real World was his best years because he is a. That's funny, Eric. That's funny. Slammed Yoko, yeah. Lex Luger slammed Yoko, and I love the story of Lex Luger saying how he didn't think he was going to be able to lift Yokozuna because of his footwear. That it wasn't going to be a good grip on the mat. And Yoko said, Just let me do the work, brother. And like he helped, he basically assisted Lex Luger in slamming him. So that's awesome. I thought about the Eddie on Ray one. I'm gonna be biased. Yeah, I'm gonna say Eddie and Ray. Eddie portraying Ray because that one hit me as a kid. So yeah, Eddie and Ray is my fifth one. Big John Studd. No one talks about him. He is almost forgotten. Won a Royal Rumble. Won the second Royal Rumble. What do you think about Bret Hart? Oh damn it! Damn. Salvi brings out a good one. The Bret Hart one. Damn. Oh my God. Bret Hart's honorable mention. Bret Hart's honorable mention, but that's a great one. Damn it, Salvi. Coming in clutch with a good one. Wasn't Luger involved in a scandal? Yeah, though that maybe you're talking about the Miss Elizabeth one where they were partaking in extracurricular activities involving substances, and it resulted in the overdose of Miss Elizabeth. Um, you might have you might be referring to that one. What about Vince Russo turning his back on the business and literally killing off WCW? Some people say it was an inside job. You know, there's the wrestling conspiracy theory that McMahon sent Russo to kill WCW. Who knows? Let's see. NWO. NWO is awesome. You had mentioned Andrade lost in the mix. Do you think he will benefit from having Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero if he was still alive? Dude, I swear to God, I feel like I need to sneeze, but it won't come out. I don't know. I feel like I have to sneeze. Anyway, um, it's tough. He can have like a Rey Mysterio, even without Eddie. Love Eddie, but even without him, I feel like if he had Ray, it would just be for a series of matches. He needs something tangible. He needs a storyline to go with. And I don't think he needs to be lumped up with the LWO. That's the lazy thing. I don't think it makes a difference, in my opinion. Bret Hart and Luger winning the Rumble together. Yeah, crazy that they were able to time that together. But a great moment, honestly. And it was, I get what McMahon was doing. He wanted to see that who would the fans like, Bret or Lex Luger? And that was their way to kind of have a barometer, kind of have a little gauge at who would be over. And Bret Hart, essentially was over and would win the title at Mania. But an awesome spot, very cool. What's going on, Odyssey? What do you want to talk about, buddy? What haven't we talked about? We talked about a bunch. I mean, if anything, we're gonna start wrapping up on the stream here in a little bit. We've been here for what, guys? 2.5 hours. A good length of the stream here. But I mean, whew. Love the Cody reference though. Big fan of Cody Rhodes here. Big Show versus Aki Bono was on the vault. Is it really? That's crazy. Because we talked about the sumo match earlier. Of all matches, that's the one they put on the vault. Hey, more power to you. You might have to age restricted by how much cheeks you can see on Big Show and Aki Bono. Would you be a fan of Matt Cardona's WWE return? Would you be a fan of him as a WWE champ as well? I don't know about a WWE champion, but I would love to see him as another run in the WWE as Matt Cardona. Maybe getting another take at the US Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. Challenge for the championship. I would like to see him challenge, like Cody Rhodes versus him for the WWE title. I think would be an interesting take. I don't think he'd win it though. I don't think he'd win it. Maybe I think he has a better option of winning the world title or the NXT title, but not the WWE title. But I would absolutely love to see Matt Cardona back in the WWE. Rick Saints needs to change his taunt. I don't know about that. It's still early. Can you answer with a yes or no? I could answer with a yes or no, but then it would just be a boring conversation. Where it's just like, yes, no, no, yes. Like it's like it would be boring that way. I have to give a little bit of a explanation. A little too flamboyant for his persona. I don't know. I think that's the reason why. Quick question. So you have three different cars right now, and I use different social security numbers, but my third social security flag. Okay, I'm not even gonna. I like to see him versus AJ Styles. Okay, anyone with AJ would be great. best US champion. I'm gonna go John Cena. That 2015 run was great. And plus the WWE doesn't really they don't really book their US champions all that well. Uh So I have three different cards right now, and I use different social security members, but my third social security got flagged because I pulled 13K out for a single intro show for my bands. I need a new one. I don't know, dude. I don't need a timeout. I have 33. I don't know, dude. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Um, Brian Danielson. No update. We don't know if he's gonna come back or if he's actually retired. No. Okay, your answer is no. I don't know what you want from me, buddy. Quick question. You have three different cars right now, and I use. What was I going? I don't know what the hell that was about, dude. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I'm Sammy. I don't like, dude. I'm thinking you're right. That's annoying. Sorry about that, guys. Like, that's why we booted him. I'm sorry. Where were we at here? Brian Danielson. Don't know if we're getting anything out of him. I think he should keep it retired. Solid retirement there. Brian Danielson's one of the greatest of all time. Doesn't need to come back. Enjoy your time with your family. You've done everything you needed to do. One of the best. Brian Myers' career boring or nothing against Brian Myers, but yeah, I don't. He's doing well in the system with TNA. Don't mess that up. Have you talked about Chavo Guerrero showing up on TNA? No, I haven't, but that's a good callback as well. Chavo Guerrero was a former tag team champion with, I believe, Hernandez as a member of TNA. I would love to. We had a stream on the Von Erichs. I would think to do one about the Guerreros. That'd be an interesting one. Best heavyweight champion. If we're talking the world title, like in WWE, I mean, I'm a Taker guy. I like Edge too. Billy Kidman, awesome, cool looking shooting star press. Yeah, I booted him. Sounds like a scam. Yep. I want to see Punk and Brian Danielson. I selfishly I do too. Punk and Brian are my guys. Love it, man. Those are my guys. What's your opinion on John and the street fight and the? Oh, okay. So Sunny, I did reference it earlier, but I didn't get to talk about it in depth. I like street fights. I like all types of versions of pro wrestling. Whether it's technical, whether it's hardcore, whatever the case may be. I think it was kind of reckless. If you're gonna do that, you would think it'd be on pay per view. I'm very surprised that they did that on TV. Dude, I was shocked that they had that spot. Because usually you bring out the 2x4 with the spikes on it. You do the classic wave around and no one gets hit, but you're able to avoid it. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I thought it was crazy to see Moxley have that in his back and the way they were pulling it off, and you can see the skin begin to rip off of him. Oh my god, dude, gnarly, gnarly. Don't get me wrong, I'm in it for the shock value, but sometimes I'm like, you don't need to do it just for the shock value. Like, it's hit or miss. It's 50-50. Me personally, I love a good street fight. I think that spot might have been too far. I think it might have been too far. That's just me personally. If you guys were a fan of it, hey, awesome, love that. I think it might have been too far. Chavo said in a video that Ray and him weren't best friends, Ray and Eddie. Yeah, I did see that, and I don't know. That's tough. I mean, you kind of are inclined to believe Chavo because he was family, with Eddie. I don't know. Dethroned by Eli, breaking my heart, man. I think the best weight champion is the Great K. The Great Khali? No, come on. Now you're trolling. Salvi with a great callback here. Cena and Eddie had a great parking lot brawl back in 2003. Love it. Love it. Chavo helped him win that matchup. Beer Money. Sorry about your damn luck. That's right. James Storm, Robert Roode, TNA alumni there. They were around when I was watching. Great callback there. Love it. How close was Chavo with Benoit? I'm not sure, but I feel like he probably was pretty close. I mean, like he was one of the last guys that he talked to. I mean, if you remember, there was the text message that they were, talking about, from during Benoit's last years. I would think so. And MVP, I don't know about MVP. Did you collect figures as a kid? Yeah, we did. We have a bunch of figures. We have them somewhere in storage. But yeah, we have like a whole duffel bag. Oh my god, we have like anybody you can think of. We probably had them. Yeah, they're somewhere. Because AEW always tries to fill up the BS last year. Cope and Swerve, the cage spot. Oh yeah, the cage spot with the needle this year. This what's next year gonna be? No, yeah, you're right. They do have a lot of crazy spots. I mean, obviously the Moxley one, the syringe one. There was the one where Hangman was it. I don't know. It was a Hangman and Swerve Texas death match. And I don't remember. I think it was Swerve that bled, or was it Hangman that bled? Some regardless, it was a Texas death match, and one of them had the blood flowing into their mouth, and I thought that's crazy. That's wild. Carlito with the fuzzy head one. Yep, we had Carlito. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Good callback. Do you see NXT having a War Games match? I think that'd be awesome. I think if you're gonna bring back War Games to NXT, that's the way to do it. Have their 5 against NXT's 5. Oh my god, that's a great idea, Salvi. What about the screwdriver spot? Oh yeah, well, because Moxley had that spot with Don Callis, and it went too deep, and Don Callis bled, and now he has that gnarly scar that comes across his forehead. Now thinking about it, Moxley's really associated with a lot of these spots. I haven't seen Carlito lately. What's up with him? He's on Monday Night Raw. The Judgment Day last scene with like Finn Balor and Dominic. Yeah, he's on Monday Night Raw. What about Punk and MJF Cowboy? Oh yeah, Punk and MJF had a great matchup at in AEW. Had their was it a strap match? But Punk and MJF had a great feud, and it helped revitalize Punk's career and really put MJF on the map. The one I hate Moxley does is putting a plastic bag over a guy's head. Oh, that one's crazy. Yeah, he did that to Brian. I remember that. Or when he got the I don't know what they're called, but there's like these sticks, almost like kebabs like sticks. They're probably like bamboo sticks. I don't know. But that spot where there's sticks and they just stack them into the forehead and they just stick there. It's gnarly stuff, dude. That's from his days in CCW. What's the TNA match called where there are ropes and you have to? Oh, the Ultimate X match. Yeah, the Ultimate X match. That's a crazy matchup too. Less famous Miz. And will WWE have it? I hope. I mean, that'd be cool. If they had a little crossover event like an NXT show and they did an Ultimate X match. I mean, Jordan Gray said that watch out that they might have an Ultimate X match at some point this year. Obviously not her call, but still that'd be very interesting to see. Okay, guys, a couple more minutes here on the stream, and then we're gonna call it. So, any last second questions or comments you want to drop down in the chat, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, I'm gonna start to slowly begin to wrap up here. We have a new video coming out this weekend. Like I said, it's gonna be a gameplay, not a live stream, but a gameplay of a dream match that I have. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing how you guys, respond to that and see if it's anything you'd like to see as an ongoing series. It's basically me calling a professional wrestling match and providing my own commentary and just letting it play out and see how that goes. So we'll have that up this weekend. Also on Sunday, we will have another live stream as per usual. We'll be discussing the happenings of the happenings of Friday Night SmackDown and also Collision. Probably we'll check that out as well. Trying to do more AEW content on the streams as well. A new episode of the J Area Wrestling Show on Monday will come out, and then we'll keep moving from there. Last second comments here in the chat. Brian says, "Who owns TNA now?" Well, I believe Anthem still runs them, if I'm not mistaken. I think last time I checked, they had ownership of TNA. I could be wrong, but I think it's Anthem. Speaking of TNA, what's your thoughts on Tessa and the Your Racist chance? Should she appear for WWE television? Hey, hugs from Brazil. What's going on? Thank you so much. The Tessa Blanchard stuff is a tough subject, right? Because people say you want to separate the wrestler from the person, like keep them two separate. But the controversy surrounding her is so difficult to ignore. Knowing her, well, people are, for the lack of a better phrase, they're a racist bully. You can't judge the people for what they chant. It's been said time and time again. They're gonna say what they want because they pay to go to the show. Is that still Dixie Carter? No, Dixie Carter sold it like maybe 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, I think she sold it. Because like Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins was there for a minute there, and I think he sold it to Anthem. So they've gone through ownership in the last 10 years. But I do not see WWE incorporating Blanchard onto their TV scene. There's too much negativity, too much controversy. They say any publicity is good publicity, but given the whole McMahon situation, I don't think they want another controversy on their hands. So I don't see Tessa Blanchard appearing on NXT TV. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm more than happy to be told I'm wrong about this. But just seeing how they've been operating these last couple of years under the Triple H regime and the Nick Khan regime as well, I'm gonna go with a no. I don't think I don't think she shows up on TV. The "you are racist" chants are wild though. What can Tessa do to rebound from this? People have said that she needs to come out and apologize and actually come out and deliver a statement recognizing what she did or the allegations that have been made and just come forward with it and try to make peace with it. I'm not an expert on it. I couldn't tell you 100% the timeline of the events and whether or not she's given a formal apology. But from what I've seen, people just want her to acknowledge it and just come out right forward, acknowledge what she said, acknowledge that it was bad, and hopefully move forward. But even then, if she does that, I don't think people would let go. Muhammad says a Hulk Hogan treatment. Literally, it's because of that sense of accountability, accepting what you did, and trying to earn back that respect and that reputation. I don't think she can do anything at this point. She could make a video, she could apologize. I don't think it's going to be good enough. I think just like Hulk Hogan, she's going to be booed wherever she goes. And it's not going to be good heat. It's that go away heat. So, good question there by Muhammad and by Sunny. But yeah, I don't think so. I think with her, I think unfortunately, her legacy might be set already. But awesome questions, and I want to say I appreciate you guys for continuing to stop by and share these questions and comments and opening up the discussions. Thoughts on Hulk Hogan's meet and greet debacle? This will be the last one that I'll answer because you guys know I'm not a big fan of Hogan, and because we're wrapping up on the stream. Everyone is entitled to a certain amount of time allotted with that meet and greet. It's difficult to appease everybody, so I will give Hulk Hogan the benefit of the doubt in that regard. It's tough to have people waiting in line, but I think because of who he is and again his reputation, it's difficult to to give him that benefit of the doubt. I'm not a Hulk Hogan guy, but at the same time, I kind of get it. There's only a certain amount of time, but at the same time, you want to be respectful to the people who pay to see you. You know, maybe there could have been more of an effort on his part. I don't know. I'm not Hogan. I'm not his publicist. I don't work with him like that, but his history precedes itself for sure. And that's right. Sanford says people can forgive but never forget. Amen to that, brother. Trevor, been a while. I got a picture now. Let's start with Cena's promo. Was epic. Wait, he left early for crying out loud. You know, again, I don't know how much time was allotted, if it was like a 2 hour commitment. But I mean, that raises a good point, Mohammed. That raises a good point. Because if you are signed, if you are expected to be there for a certain amount of time, that without notice, okay, see, like I didn't know that. I didn't know that. If you are expected to be there for an amount of time and you don't fulfill that duty, it is a level of unprofessionalism. So I will concede to that. Without giving the fans notice, yeah, I didn't know that. That's a big thing too. It's about the communication. It's about having that understanding. And clearly, the priorities weren't there for Hogan to be vocal about that with his team or with the fans in attendance. It's in a word, unprofessional, unprofessional. But I mean, it's Hogan, and I try hard to not be biased because you guys know I don't like him. So I try to give the benefit of the doubt. But if you really want my answer, it's like I expect nothing less. I think Hulk Hogan's a bad guy. I think he's a bad human being. His reputation has preceded himself off of what he said in front of and behind closed doors. I don't doubt it. I'm happy that people booed him at the events. That's Hogan. Literally, that's Hogan. Sammy, do you have Funko Pops? I have one. It was a gift from my sister. She grew up a fan of Rikishi because she thought it was hilarious about his ring gear. So shout out to my sister. Gave myself and San Fran our own Funko Pops. I got the Rikishi one. So I don't collect them, but maybe I should. Maybe I should. But while I got a picture. But yeah. So I'm gonna call it here, guys. Thank you all so much for joining us on the live stream. It's been a great chat. Great opportunity to catch up with you guys as always. The next live stream, of course, will be Sunday evening around the same time, 8:30, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Appreciate you guys always showing up for these live streams and coming out with the great energy and the great questions, like Muhammad, Brian, Sammy, San Fran, everybody here. I mean, so many people. If I haven't named you, so sorry, but it's continuing to grow. I mean, dude, Sammy says stream was fun. I appreciate that, Sammy. Thank you for continuing to show up, Sammy, as well as everybody else. To all the people that have been with us since the beginning, you guys are the real ones. You guys are OGs and you're diehards. I appreciate you so much. And to all the people that have joined us along the way, can't thank you enough as well because you guys continue to make these streams so much fun. I'll be back again. Trevor, I hope so. You know, you missed out on the conversation early on, but the archive will be available if you want to check that out. Please do at least check out the first half hour where we talk about Stone Cold and Bret Hart's matchup at WrestleMania 13. Um, Thank you again for stopping by. Hope to see you again. Sam says, I'm a fan now. I'm a fan of yours, buddy. I'm a fan of yours. If you're a fan of pro wrestling like me, I'm a fan of yours. So I can't thank you guys enough. See you Sunday. Just found you today. Brian, thank you so much. Hopefully you subbed and appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much for the support and look forward to having the chat on Sunday, talking about what happens on SmackDown and Collision. That's where we're going to discuss that recap show there. Again, can't thank you guys enough. Hopefully you have a good night. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday. Everyone take care. Everyone be safe. Be cool. We'll see you then. Thank you all so much.